What's up guys, this is your favorite fanfic YouTuber, the Fanfic Majesty. Join my Discord if you want to chat and share your thoughts, the link is in the description. 10SK Chapter 226 Meteor Volcano, Unruly Monsters. Saved. I thought I was dead. Gulu, what kind of monster is this? He actually dropped the island from the sky, thanks Kuzan Admiral. One after another, the sea was frozen and unable to move. A marine slumped there, breathing heavily, as if he had survived the disaster. Cold sweat broke out, full of panic and discord. Looking at the icebergs, all around, they were so big and unattainable that they seemed to be about to fall. There were also warships that were frozen on the top of the huge waves. It makes people feel a little numb. Damn black prison. Looking at the completely frozen sea, on the leader's flagship, the dog looked gloomy. It's really scary, the entire army was almost wiped out. There was a flash of light, Perusolino's figure fell from the sky. He spread his hands towards Akainu, the supreme commander. Those guys have slipped away. Sakazuki, the loss this time is too great. Although we have dispersed the fleet as much as possible, we are still a little careless. Aokiji returned to the flagship with a solemn face, and said in a deep voice to the ashen-faced Akainu. There were at least 10 people just now. An incoming warship had no time to escape and was hit from the front, including 5 or 6 large battleships. Several other warships that were too close were capsized by huge waves and had no time to stop them, along with the personnel on them. I froze it directly. Except for those who are expected to be rescued by thawing, I'm afraid the loss will be no less than that of the 6th district. This is the power of lion fruit. In terms of strategic value, it is not inferior to Paramecia shock fruit, and is even more terrifying. At the beginning, Golden Lion Shiki, the flying pirate, relied on this ability to lead the flying pirate group back and forth like the wind. It makes the world governments have headaches, fears, and deep uneasiness. I'm afraid that at some point, several islands will suddenly fall from the sky. Those bastards. Akainu's face darkened. The veins on his forehead popped out, and his eyes were spitting fire. Gritting his teeth, they became extremely red, and his smoking fists were clenched tightly with unstoppable ferocity. Lousy can't spare them. The unlucky start made him extremely angry and aggrieved. Sakazuki, now is not the time to be angry. Perusolino reminded there. We still have to melt the ice first. You don't need to remind me. Sakazuki took a deep breath. Suppressing his anger, he looked at the frozen sea. Both arms were directly covered with hot lava, and the breath of extremely medical heat hit his face. Advertisement: the temperature in the atmosphere keeps rising. No one dares to get close at all. Meteor volcano. His eyes were stern. Those magma-formed fists were waving wildly. Whoosh! Whoosh! The sound broke through the air constantly. One after another, huge magma bombs carried unparalleled impact and blasted in all directions. It avoided those warships and hit the ice hard, directly melting large areas of ice into seawater. Even boiled them. Boom! Dressrosa. In the castle on the King's Heights. Lord William, the frozen sea in the Shakbar Sea has been thawed by the magma of Admiral Akainu. Their fleet continues to approach Dressrosa. The ghost soldiers who went to inquire about the situation were reporting to William there. Hey, this is really exciting. Rain Shiryu licked her lips, her eyes burning. Not only him, but everyone in the Hell Pirates present was a little eager to try. Full of high-spirited fighting spirit, full of confidence. Closely, he gave an order. William walked towards the corridor. He went straight to a hall. I've offended you a lot in the past few days, please forgive me, a few of you. I saw 3 tall figures with different shapes and cold faces, each holding their arms and sitting there. The sharp and captivating gaze came closely. An invisible momentum also followed the crushing. If it were anyone else, I'm afraid they would be trembling with fear and their fighting power would be unsettled. But William took it calmly and was completely unmoved. He looked at the 3 people present and said with a smile, the Marine fleet is almost here. I just gave them a meeting gift. Next, let's take a picture of the 3 of you. Don't say it so nicely, this is just a transaction. A figure with a fierce face, a brown-green Z-shaped beard, and a helmet looked directly at William, grinned and said, anyway, Lousy is full of anger and wants to settle the score with those despicable guys in the world government. But if you don't give my heart back after the war, don't blame Lousy for falling out. Certainly, William smiled slightly. Advertisement. He spread his hands and said frankly, I'm not naive enough to think that I can easily make monsters like you surrender with just a heart. Just to be on the safe side, I have to do this. But you don't have to be so angry. Looking at the 3 monsters released from eternal hell in front of him, William smiled and said, each of you is responsible for holding down a Marine Admiral or Admiral candidate. Help me deal with these guys. Just treat it as if I released you from impelled down. It pays to come out. Although I don't like being controlled by others, I don't want to cooperate with anyone. Asterisk 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 asterisk. On the sofa nearby, the figure with a tall and thin figure, braids, aristocratic clothes, and a red cloak said calmly, but this time, for the sake of the bat fruit, phantom beast species, and vampire form ability, I can make an exception to help you. It just so happens that I have to settle the account with those Marine guys for being imprisoned and impelled down. Don't get me wrong, Lousy is not helping you, he just wants to kill those Marines. The third man was sitting there with his arms clasped in his arms. He was tall and muscular, and his figure in military uniform looked fierce. He stared at William with blazing eyes, full of fierce fighting spirit, and said with his teeth bared, "But, Black Prison, Obask William, you are indeed a good opponent, your head Lousy has been reserved. If there are generals who have served in the Marines for a long time and are experienced here, Zero, he will inevitably lose his voice in shock. The three figures in front of him are all monsters that were famous in the sea in the past. World Destroyer, Burndy World, Red Earl, Baloric Redfield, Devil's Descendant, Douglas Bullet. Moreover, what is unbelievable is that Red Earl Redfield, who had been locked up in the Impel Down for many years, has become old and senile. He actually regained his youthful state. No problem, if we have to fight, I'll be with you anytime." William laughed. Bullet responded without any sign of weakness. His tone was full of strong confidence, "But when the time comes, don't be too disappointed, I won't lose." That's right. From the beginning. Those powerful monsters in eternal hell. William was not prepared to turn their shadows into zombies. He is not planning to directly recycle those devil fruit abilities which are quite strong, but is planning to release them to play with Marine. He even did not hesitate to give the ability of the Phantom Beast species in vampire form to the Red Earl, so that the other party could regain his youth and display his peak combat power. This time, he will make sure Marine never comes back. Considering that even the zombies created from the shadows of those monsters cannot be more powerful than the Zombie King created from his own split shadow. Rather than this, it's better to let them play a greater value. Even if it's just for your own use temporarily, it doesn't matter. After all, compared to severely damaging Marine and weakening the power of the world government to the greatest extent, these are not worth mentioning. After all, with his current strength, if he really wants the shadow of these guys, or wants to reclaim their abilities. Even if you let them go, if you want to catch them again, you can do it anytime. This is William's absolute confidence in his own strength. Chapter 227, Terrifying Laser Cannons, the Buster Call Fleet's Unsuccessful Start. Beep, beep. Attention all fleets, we have arrived at the target location, Dressrosa. Discovered the terrifying ship of the Hell Pirates. All personnel immediately enter level 1 combat status and prepare to fight. On the sea. One warship after another came from all directions to encircle them, full of murderous intent. Sharp alarms and urgent announcements were heard from the telephone broadcasts on every warship. It keeps echoing there. Sakazuki Admiral, we have arrived near Dressrosa, and the fleet has surrounded this sea area. In addition to the terror ship, we also discovered the whereabouts of Punk Hazard, and another island, which was also moved to Dressrosa, beside. Headed above the flagship. A Marine colonel asked for instructions. Are you ready to attack immediately? Have we finally reached 100? It's really arrogant, but it's better that these guys didn't just run away. Akainu clenched his fists, looking at the islands in the distance. His eyes revealed a fierce murderous intention. Without hesitation, he spoke coldly. All fleets, open fire for me. Prioritize the destruction of the terrifying ship and those fleets. Yes, however, don't wait for the order from the Marine colonel. A sharp and harsh sound broke through the air suddenly. Whoosh! An extremely dazzling laser beam blinded the ears with lightning speed. It blasted towards the flagship where Akainu was. Moreover, it is constantly changing and amplifying at a speed visible to the naked eye. From a laser beam with a diameter less than 2 fingers, it has become a large laser cannon with a diameter that is almost thicker than an adult's thigh. The speed is as fast as lightning, making people unable to react at all. In an instant, they had already reached the front of the battleship. Hey, are you kidding me? On a large battleship in the distance? Admiral Aokiji, who was sitting there, couldn't help but narrow his eyes. Not only him, but the other Marine generals in the entire fleet also couldn't believe it. He screamed out loudly, and the cold liquid flowed out. They were all shocked. Laser beam. Damn. Akainu, who was the first to bear the brunt, changed his expression. He stepped hard and his whole body was ejected like a cannonball. The right arm turned into rolling magma and continued to expand. Advertisement: the extremely exaggerated magma fist wrapped around the powerful hockey, and the hot breath of the flesh made the weather distort. Like an undersea volcano erupting, carrying unimaginable impact, it fiercely attacked the incoming large laser cannon. Great eruption. Boom boom. The loud noise shook the sky. The terrifying collision is shocking. The intense light and glow are so dazzling that it is impossible to look directly at them. A large amount of hot magma fluid kept splashing out. It makes a sizzling sound in the seawater. There was an astonishing amount of steam rising from the sea. Woo-hoo-hoo. Swoosh. On the sea, the waves are rough. Rolling air waves swept across. The swaying battleship was pushed backwards. One by one, the Marine personnel were unprepared and all stood unsteadily. They fell to pieces and suffered bloody head injuries. Kilogram. Kilogram. That is how the matter. Gulu. It's Perusalino Admiral's laser beam. No, the laser beam he releases is bigger than usual. Damn it, the Hell Pirates have mastered such exaggerated laser technology. Is it because of Dr. Vegapunk? Whether it was this flagship or the dozens of warships scattered on the sea that surrounded Dressrosa, the Marines couldn't help but widen their eyes. His mouth opened wide in disbelief, somewhat shocking and horrifying. The chill is rising. Next moment, the light is dazzling. A laser beam shot out again. A large warship exploded and burst into flames. Countless Marines screamed. Dist, in the blink of an eye. As if a command was triggered, one dazzling laser beam after another. From the ship of terror, Dressrosa, Punk Hazard, Nameless Desert Island. Shooting from multiple directions, advertisement. Between the electric light and flint, on several large battleships. One after another, figures with astonishing momentum rushed out. They were all the vice admirals from naval headquarters, and they all ran into the air on the moonwalk. Swinging it out of its sheath like lightning, it wrapped around Hockey's blade, deflecting the incoming laser beam and protecting the warships behind it. But warships in other directions were not so lucky. There were constant loud noises and flames shooting into the sky. One warship after another exploded one after another. There it slowly sank to the bottom of the sea at a speed visible to the naked eye. Ah! Countless Marines screamed. Some people were thrown away by the explosion wave like paper figures. Some people were directly affected by the fire and started a fire, screaming endlessly. Many people panicked and jumped into the sea. 138. On the headed flagship, Akainu, who had blocked the large laser cannon just now, landed firmly on the deck. His face was livid, and he was a little angry. Those bastards actually mastered such a weapon. Let's not talk about the dozens of warships that were destroyed by the islands that fell from the sky in the nearby waters. The Buster Call fleet, which originally consisted of more than 60 warships of various types, was hit by the terrifying wave of firepower from the Hell Pirates just now. At least 20 or 30 more ships were destroyed. This means that before they even open fire, half of their own fleet has been destroyed, which is really a bad start. How can Sakazuki, the supreme commander of the Buster Call fleet, not be angry? Damn it, did that guy from Vegapunk do it? No, from a time perspective, it shouldn't be too late for the 4.4 group. After all, Vegapunk has just been kidnapped not long ago. Even if he surrenders directly, it is impossible for him to produce so many laser cannons at once. With so many laser cannons, they may have already mastered this technology. Real-time communication, keep in touch with Zhongshen on the phone. The voices of Marine generals such as Admiral Aokiji, Momosagi Vice Admiral, T-Dolphin Vice Admiral, Flying Squirrel Vice Admiral, and Ghost Spider Vice Admiral were heard, and they were discussing each other. Don't worry about it. The entire fleet opens fire immediately. Akainu ordered loudly. Give them some color and see. Roger. A warship commander received the order. One after another began to issue orders to fire. Quick. Fire. Chapter 228, Momo Fruit and Fusion Fruit, the Gundam Bullet, 4th update. Xbot. Fire shot into the sky. Countless cannonballs were fired. Violent explosions were triggered on various islands. The fire was raging and thick smoke was billowing. Det. A loud roar broke through the air, lots of shells. Attacking the ship of terror as the primary target. Slash wave. The eye-catching slash directly caused the incoming shells to be split into two and exploded in the air. Meanwhile, other directions. There was also a flash of cold light, and rounds of artillery shells were fired. There to block the marine bombardment. Golden Lion, even a guy like you was killed. Holding a black umbrella with a bat handle, Red Earl Redfield looked at Golden Lion, a special zombie, and sighed, and it was turned into a zombie. How unforgiving. Looking at the tragic situation of Golden Lion, relying on the ability of the phantom species in vampire form. Arrogant by nature, he has regained his youth and strengthened his aloof belief. How high-spirited were the flying pirates of the past? How powerful was the former Sky Pirates 24? No matter how many subordinates there are, no matter how many companions. In the end, it was all in vain. Waka. This laser weapon is really surprisingly useful. Not far from the coast. A tall figure wearing a helmet, a brown beard, and a fierce face was laughing there. It is, World Destroyer, Burn D World. He was carrying a laser cannon that was as big as a rocket launcher and was full of science fiction. Aiming directly at the large battleship ahead, he pulled the trigger without hesitation. Momo 30 times laser cannon. Call out, a dazzling beam of light shot out, continuously amplifying and accelerating at a speed visible to the naked eye. The huge laser cannon is so dazzling that no one can look directly at it. In the blink of an eye, it hit the front of a Marine's most advanced warship. Unparalleled power. Advertisement, don't try to succeed. A naval headquarters vice admiral rushed out and tried to block it. But he obviously had a high opinion of himself and was unable to intercept the terrifying large laser cannon. What? The whole person's face changed drastically, full of panic, and was directly overwhelmed by the dazzling and spreading light. Not to mention those Marines. It was the members of the Hell Pirates, looking at the warship that exploded in an instant on the sea. I couldn't help but feel some discoloration and my scalp was numb. Tisk, Paramisha Momo Fruit, it's such a terrifying ability, Luo exclaimed there. It can double the size and speed of all non-living targets it touches, and even the destructive power. Fanoka, a sniper on the side, sighed with emotion. It is indeed an enviable ability. Said, Already aiming at the target ahead. Locking on the commander on a distant warship, he directly pulled the trigger. 3 rapid-fire shots in a row. Boom, boom, boom. A sound broke through the air. Invisible bullets, wrapped around the half-baked armament hockey, shot through the weather at a speed far exceeding that of ordinary bullets. It was accurate and hit the commander on the medium-sized warship. Although he sensed the crisis and tried to dodge immediately, he could only barely dodge the 2 invisible bullets in front of him. Let him fall directly into a pool of blood. Mike Rear Admiral. Damn it, everyone, be careful, there are snipers. On a distant warship, he looked at the Naval Headquarters Rear Admiral who was directing them to fire artillery, but was suddenly shot in the head and fell there. A Marine was shocked and screamed, boom boom. At this time, on the other side of the coast, a golden light shot out. Another warship was hit by a dazzling laser beam. There it exploded and burst into flames. Hey, that's a very interesting thing. I didn't expect you guys to have such a thing. Douglas Bullet held up a laser cannon and grinned at William II next to him. Originally a laser cannon no smaller than a rocket launcher. In the hands of the tall man, it looked like a normal pistol. As long as you are satisfied, these are my gifts for you, William smiled and said with a chuckle. Next, I'll watch your performance. In front of him, advertisement, there are a large number of shape memory alloy steel plates. Moreover, there are also brand new laser cannons, various rocket launchers, Gatling guns and other thermal weapons. With the ability of Bullet's Paramecia fusion fruit, if he can fuse these morphological memory alloys with advanced weapons, his combat effectiveness will inevitably increase exponentially. After being imprisoned for more than 10 years, Bullet's abilities have not truly awakened and need to be strengthened. Therefore, he specially sent this gift. Hey, you're welcome then. Bullet bared his teeth. He showed a playful smile and his eyes suddenly flashed. A strange force swept out in an instant. Brush. Swipe. All of a sudden, these shape memory metals and weapons turned into particle-like fluids. Directly submerged Bullet's entire body. They're assembled at a speed visible to the naked eye. Medium-sized Bullet. In the blink of an eye. A robot about 10 meters tall with a 9 logo stood there. The lines are thick and shiny, shining with metallic luster. The muzzles of the black 257 guns are overwhelming, making people's scalp numb. Leveraging his Paramecia fusion fruit ability, Bullet directly combined a large number of morphological memory metals and weapons to assemble 10 robots. Is this the power of the fusion fruit? It's so exaggerated that a robot was directly synthesized. Nami, Robin, Perona, Lafitte and others all around were stunned. It's been such a long time, driving this robot. Bullet smiled excitedly. The moment he put them together, he could already feel the specialness of these materials. With the combination of such alloy materials and these powerful weapons, the power he can exert is more than doubled. Looking at the warships on the sea, his terrifying eyes showed madness and murderous intent. Then, Marine, accept the baptism of fire after being aged for more than 10 years. Buzz tilde 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 buzz tilde tilde tilde, shining with dazzling brilliance, extremely dazzling. The black laser cannon barrels were aimed at warships in different directions. A dangerous atmosphere filled the air. It makes people feel a little scared. Whoosh. Whoosh. The next moment, one after another, the terrifying laser beams were fired with lightning speed and calmness. It continuously bombarded the warships scattered on the sea. Unstoppable. Chapter 229 Zombie Version Pacifist Legion, Kazarov's Red Earl. On the sea, fires shot into the sky and explosions continued. One warship after another was hit by laser beams one after another and exploded directly. Countless Marines screamed in agony. Gulu. It's the Devil's Descendant, Douglas Bullet. And World Destroyer, Burn the World and Red Earl, Redfield. Beryl, Bacchus Choate, the King of Evil, Bizarro, Hunter of the Moon, Katrine Demai, Evil Child, Helen Alice, Steel Fist, Haas, Bloodclaw, Baudel Byrne, The Rock, Porter T. Johnson, Punch, Lawrence Geit. They are all the notorious prisoners in eternal hell. On the headed flagship, lookout hand on the observation platform. Through the monocular, pay attention to the situation on the terrifying ship. I noticed the new members of the Hell Pirates such as Zon Yu Hunter, King of Evil, and Big Wine Barrel. There are also World Destroyer, Burn the World, Red Earl Redfield, Douglas Bullet and other monsters who were imprisoned in eternal hell in the past. As he continued to broadcast, the generals couldn't help but change their expressions in horror. Some expressions changed drastically. 15,889. His eyes were fixed on the terrifying ship. That robot was like a giant, full of science fiction, and continuously fired a large number of laser beams. It had sunk no less than 5 or 6 warships in a short period of time. Akainu was a little frightened and angry. He clenched his hot red fists tightly and gritted his teeth and said, "That be asterisk 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 D. William from hell actually released all these monsters. Don't be too arrogant, you scumbags, meteor fire." B. He was furious. Both fists have turned into rolling lava, continuously blasting towards the sky. In the blink of an eye, a large number of magma bombs carried billowing smoke into the sky and disappeared. Doctor. The sound of breaking through the air continued. The sparks are getting bigger and bigger. Just like a large volcano erupting, countless volcanic bombs continued to fall from the sky. One after another, the hot and terrifying magma bombs carried a powerful impact and blasted straight towards the terrifying ship. People can't help but change their color in shock. Dark Torrent backquote. At this time, William's eyes narrowed. Advertisement directly activated the ability of the shadow fruit. In an instant, endless black shadows gathered from all directions and turned into an endless torrent. Brush. Swipe. The torrent of black shadow surged there. It turned into a huge dark sky, firmly covering the entire terrifying ship. Stop those shocking magma bombs. Call out. Above Punk Hazard, Flash. Kizaru, who was originally a surprise soldier and was not prepared to take action so quickly, could no longer sit still. In an instant, it had already reached the sky above Punk Hazard. Looking at the figures with tall bodies, large open mouths and even black gun barrels exposed on their hands, they constantly condensed dazzling brilliance and released laser beams to attack Kong Ling's fleet. He couldn't help but his expression change. He's actually a reformer? No, maybe to be more precise, it should be modified zombies. He never expected that William from Hell would be so crazy. Laser systems were mounted on these zombies. In fact, the Marine Science Corps has already mastered laser technology from Dr. Vegapunk. It's just that these laser cannons are too expensive to build compared to ordinary artillery. The top leaders of world government are too stingy. I think Marine's current firepower is enough. There is absolutely no intention of mass producing this type of laser cannon for Marine installations. I heard that Dr. Vegapunk had already had this idea, and once wanted to put it on the clone army, but he never found a suitable experimental sample. Unexpectedly, I encountered a guy like Hell William who didn't follow common sense and directly installed the laser system on the zombie army. These guys have no sense of pain and are not afraid of death. It is equipped with such a lethal device, it's really hard to do. Who? It's Admiral Kizaru. He is a Logia user. Ordinary ammunition and laser cannons are ineffective against him. Use Seastone nets. B-67. Out. Discovered Kizaru's arrival. Not just those transformed zombie versions of the Pacifist Legion. There were actually a large number of zombie troops, waving swords and guns, rushing out of the hidden caves one after another, all shouting there. The zombies who were close to him decisively attacked the Admiral of Headquarters. A large number of bullets, a small number of rockets, and even laser beams came one after another. Advertisement, but for Kizaru, who is a Logia user, it is directly ineffective. It penetrated his body, and his whole body was intact. Boom. The dazzling light disappeared in a flash. A servant holding a Seastone net gun, just about to launch. He was directly kicked away by the extremely fast Kizaru with a light speed kick. No, these guys. Are they all zombies? Kizaru dodged the incoming Seastone net inside. It's really scary. However, it will be more effective if you touch the body first. There was a flash of golden light. He jumped directly into the air. The dazzling light mirror condensed out, 8-foot beautiful Magatama. Boom. Boom. A large number of light bombs poured out like an overwhelming force. Heading towards those zombies. Admiral Kizaru? At this time, a swift red figure rushed over like lightning. Kai. The dark bat umbrella in his hand suddenly waved. A powerful slash, carrying the flowing hockey, knocked those light bullets away. A large number of light bombs splashed out. Rocks flew, the ground roared, and smoke billowed. The Red Earl, Baloric Redfield? Palooza, Qianli Zhao, Lino's eyes were sharp. Staring at the Red Earl who had become younger, stronger and no longer old at all, his face became solemn. A guy like you, who has always been aloof and alone, has to succumb to reality and fight for freedom. Serving a brat? The words have not yet finished. A powerful lightspeed kick. It was already heading towards the red count. Bang! There was a flash of lightning. The bat umbrella wrapped around Hockey, and he blocked the incoming kick without any risk. Hey, whatever you say. Looking directly at Kizaru in front of him, Redfield said with a cold and playful smile, I still have a debt with you, Marine. You have to make a careful calculation. Then let's see how much strength you, this old guy, still have after being locked up for so long. The light is dazzling. Kizaru crossed his hands. A lightsaber condensed and came out. Tien Kong Yun Sword Or. Chapter 230. The Shadow Corps Attacks, Black Prison vs. Akainu. D. On the sea. On Akainu's ship. Seeing that the firepower was completely suppressed, the fleet suffered heavy losses. Sakazuki, who was the supreme commander of this Buster Call operation, looked extremely gloomy and felt a little aggrieved. There was a time when Marine's Buster Call was invincible wherever it went, killing pirates to the point of losing their armor. Relying on the firepower advantage of those naval guns, they were suppressed in the end. Enemy attack. What kind of monster is this? Damn, where did they come from? B4B7, 4112. KG. Sudden. Inside the cabin, waves of screams came out. A large number of strange and ferocious black shadows came out of it. The Marines were completely caught off guard and rushed to attack. One after another, people fell in a pool of blood. What? Akainu's expression changed drastically. He was shocked and angry. The whole person was full of murderous intent and rushed out. Boom. The hot breath rushed towards his face. A ferocious black shadow, unable to dodge, directly penetrated by the magma fist print. However, to Akainu's disbelief, this strange black shadow seemed completely painless. The extremely sharp claws were swung fiercely like a blade and continued to kill him. Large areas of magma fluid splashed. Akainu, who was unscathed, narrowed his eyes. Are these guys immortal? Bang. 237 kicked out. The ghost soldier was blown away and crashed through the thick cabin. He frowned, looking at the shadow monsters that kept rushing out from the cabin and even every corner of the warship, killing the marine soldiers, and his face was livid. What the hell is this? But suddenly, the hair on his head stood up. His body suddenly retreated and he subconsciously dodged. Kai. Without any warning, a series of extremely sharp shadow tentacles wrapped around the powerful Haki, dancing like vines and penetrating out. But Akainu narrowly avoided it. As expected of the Admiral of Headquarters, the response is quite fast, in the shadow of the cabin. A tall figure appeared there. Akainu and the Marines around him couldn't help but shrink their pupils. Black William? No one expected that Hell William, who was far away on the terrifying ship, would suddenly appear on the warship. Advertisement. Akainu looked gloomy, looking directly at William in front of him, with murderous intent. Lousy hasn't killed him yet, but he has come to the door himself. We meet again, Akainu Admiral. Looking at Sakazuki in front of him, William smiled and spoke. When he was in CP9, he met each other at Eni's lobby. At that time, the Marine Admiral was riding a warship, passing through the Gate of Justice and returning to the naval headquarters. Humph, if a person doesn't follow the right path, he is worthless. Sakazuki's eyes were cold. Locking his eyes on William, he said coldly, Today, I will personally deal with you, the traitor. Magmatized fists. It was extremely red and billowing with smoke. The air around him became hot. Completely ignoring the deck under their feet, it was roasted by the high temperature and turned black at a speed visible to the naked eye, as if it was about to burn. What a coincidence. Aokiji said something similar, and so did the hero Garp, William's mouth raised, full of arrogance. If you can do it, just try it. Oft. Of. One in an instant, several magma fist seals. He just bombarded him and killed him, but William didn't dodge at all. Let the hot magma fist print pass through his body. Boom. The cabin was directly penetrated by the magma fist mark, and a raging fire broke out. This is an amazing scene. Sakazuki's eyes narrowed. Without hesitation, he rushed forward. His magma-formed right fist carries the powerful Haki. Like a volcano erupting, it struck William's head like a cannonball and penetrated hard. Dark Hound. Hey, William laughed ferociously. He punched brazenly without showing any signs of weakness. Black and red lightning intertwined, entwining Conqueror's Haki, and the fist mark flashing with astonishing electric light collided with the magma fist mark wolf carrying the terrifying high temperature. Boom. There was a loud bang. The thick deck collapsed and cracked. Woohoo! An astonishing heat wave swept across, and the entire warship shook violently. A large amount of magma liquid kept splashing. The surrounding marines were blown away by the airwaves. Some people were directly splashed by lava and screamed in agony. Crackling. For a moment, the warship couldn't help but burn. The flames are raging and the smoke is billowing. The warship is on fire. Sakazuki Admiral, please exercise some restraint. Damn it, these monsters can't be killed at all. A marine, who was fighting those shadow monsters, screamed there. Advertisement. There are also many people who cannot put out the fire at all because the fire is getting stronger and stronger. Jump directly into the sea. Even, it's not just this warship. Similar incidents were happening on other warships in all directions. A large number of shadow troops rushed out from the shadows in every corner, killing the marines who were completely defenseless and defending themselves against attacks from the sea. Caught off guard, marines suffered heavy losses. What on earth are these monsters doing? On top of a large battleship in the distance, the cold air surged, and Aokiji directly froze the unexpected black shadow monsters that suddenly appeared from all corners. His eyes were a little uncertain. Is it the power of Hell William? Boom. But a steady stream of black shadow monsters rushed out, and they smashed the ice sculptures directly, regardless of whether they hurt the frozen shadows. Released them again. Without mercy, he killed Aokiji and the surrounding marines. I heard that zombies are afraid of salt, then give it a try. Extremely sharp ice blades directly split a ghost soldier in half. Aokiji took out a handful of salt directly from his pocket. In order to target the shadow fruit's ability, Marine has already prepared a large amount of sea salt. Every Marine soldier is distributed some salt in advance. The Admiral of Headquarters is no exception. Brush, he quickly grabbed the handful of salt. It was stuffed into the mouth of the ghost soldier who was split in two and was coming back like a black fluid at a speed visible to the naked eye. As expected, the shadow soldier screamed. It shrinks directly at a speed visible to the naked eye. It turned into a shadow and rushed towards the dark cabin. Aokiji looked sharply. He was really killed? Bu. A handful of salt flew out, but when sprinkled on those shadow monsters, it has no effect at all. Would it be ineffective if it is sprinkled directly on the body surface? Aokiji swept his right foot. He kicked a black shadow monster that rushed up into the sea. Another scream echoed, and a black shadow flew out of the sea and swept towards the cabin. Brush. A black claw flew over. Aokiji had quick eyesight and quickly sprinkled a handful of salt on it. The black monster with its claws cut off suddenly let out a shrill cry. Ah! The claws seemed to be purified, emitting light smoke visible to the naked eye, turning into a small black shadow floating there, and submerged into the body of the black monster. But the broken claw could no longer be restored indefinitely like before. These monsters are afraid of sea salt, seawater or salt can restrain them. Aokiji didn't hesitate. There, he loudly reminded the Marines who were a little panicked because they were completely unable to kill these monsters. Force them into the sea, or put salt into their mouths or wounds. Notify all warships immediately and tell them the weaknesses of these monsters. Yes, Kuzan Admiral, Chapter 231. Anxious Akainu, Decepticons vs Great Eruption. Everyone, pay attention. These monsters are restrained by seawater and salt. Force them into the sea, or stuff salt into their mouths and sprinkle it on their wounds. *******. Fortunately, we prepared a lot of salt. Damn monsters. Go to hell. Bang bang, L. Ah. On the sea. On the warships. The shouts and killings shook the sky and the fighting continued. As Aokiji discovered the weaknesses of these ghost troops. Through the Den Mushi, all the warships were notified at the first time. On the warships that were in chaos, they were fighting with the ghost army that kept rushing out. The Marines, who were retreating step by step and suffering heavy losses, were excited. They launched a counterattack. From time to time, ghost soldiers were torn apart, and then their wounds were sprinkled with salt. As expected, the wounds of these black shadow monsters could not be connected after being sprinkled with sea salt. Moreover, if the fatal wound is sprinkled with sea salt, it will shrink like a deflated balloon and turn into a shadow and disappear. Great, it really works. These guys can't recover. Damn monsters, force them into the sea. Everyone, go and touch them. For a while, the morale of the Marines was greatly boosted. The Black Shadow Army suffered a lot of casualties. Ghost soldiers were constantly killed, turned into shadows, and disappeared. However, facing the fearless and powerful Ghost Army, even after knowing that seawater and salt can restrain this weakness of these Black Shadow monsters, Marines still continued to fall in a pool of blood. The loss was huge. BB-EILE. Crackle. On the blazing warship. Most of the surviving Marines had already jumped into the sea. Only a few were still entangled and fighting with the Black Shadow monsters. Accompanied by waves of terrible heat waves. One black and one red, two tall figures, fiercely confronted there. Fist to fist, although the strength was matched. Like a needle against a wheat spike, neither gave in. Akainu retreated violently. Dodged the shadow vines that rushed out of William's body and wrapped around Haki like a spear. Staring at the strange figure with black shadows surging in front of him, his eyes were stern. The ability of the shadow fruit has been developed to this extent. Advertisement he has basically confirmed it. Black Prison William should be the ability user of the shadow fruit. But what is really frightening is that the other party has developed the ability of the shadow fruit to such an exaggerated degree. The former Gekko Moria is not on the same level as him. Endless. He completely ignored the fire that was blowing in his face. He kicked away several ferocious-looking ghost soldiers who attacked him fearlessly. Akainu rushed out quickly, and his magma-like fist hit Black Prison William fiercely, and said coldly, "These monsters were created by your ability, right? This gift is not bad." William smiled lightly. Not to be outdone, he directly punched out. Boom. Magma fluid splashes. The two fought hard. On the sea, the waves were rough. Powerful air waves, carrying billowing heat waves, rolled away. On the already dilapidated warship, the deck kept whining and shaking. Don't be too proud. In order to restrain your zombies, Marine has already prepared a lot of salt. Akainu drank loudly. Hot red fist prints. It turned into afterimages all over the sky, and it attacked like crazy. Bang. Bang. William was also not to be outdone. The fists were intertwined with black and red lightning, and they were swung out continuously. Fighting with Akainu there, fierce confrontation. Really? Then you have to work hard. Looking at Akainu who looked gloomy. The corners of William's mouth raised, with a wanton smile, full of amusement. Seawater or salt can indeed inhibit the ability of ghost soldiers to recover indefinitely, or even kill them. However, he had already transferred the cards containing those shadow entities into the body of Capone Beige, leaving it on standby in the shadow world. After the ghost soldier dies, the shadow that escapes the control of the shadow fruit's ability will directly enter the shadow world through the shadow, trying to return to the owner. Please give me flowers, 0, but all shadows will be captured again. As long as he is willing, he can continuously generate ghost soldiers without even consuming much physical experience. Therefore, before killing him or exhausting the physical strength of this shadow fruit user. The ghost army is inexhaustible. Advertisement, stop being so arrogant, no. Akainu stormed out. The whole person was filled with murderous intent and his eyes were extremely fierce. But I couldn't help but feel a sinking feeling in my heart, because Marine Zoo was really too big. Even before a full-scale confrontation with the Hell Pirates, more than half of their strength had been lost. A large amount of magma kept pouring out, and the hot and bubbling magma arms continued to expand. In the final analysis, as long as we kill you, the ability user, those monsters will disappear completely. 0. Great Eruption. A huge magma fist seal. It directly dyed the entire sea surface red, scorching the atmosphere. It was as if the long-dormant underwater volcano had truly erupted, mercilessly blasting William in front of him. To burn it alive into ashes. Hey, again. If you can do it, just try it. William smiled grimly. Extremely powerful and conceited. He was imposing and clenched his fists together. The veins popped out, and the muscles couldn't help but beat. The extremely tyrannical Haki couldn't help but distort the atmosphere. Tiger. Roar. In an instant. The unparalleled fluctuation turned into a huge shockwave. In an instant, a lifelike and majestic giant tiger was formed, roaring out there, unstoppable. Without showing any weakness, he collided hard with the incomparable giant magma fist. Boom boom. The dazzling light is extremely dazzling. The extremely terrifying magma kept spewing out, and the tiger-shaped shockwave that looked like wild beasts kept violently colliding and squeezing each other. No one would give in. Osoyoy, soye, crashing, slapping. The sea was turbulent and huge waves rolled. Terrible airwaves kept sweeping and raging. There were already fires all over the place, and the overwhelmed warships were groaning and wailing. Completely torn apart and disintegrated. Chapter 232. Defeat each one? Angry Akainu. XXAP. Damn, these monsters, bye. On the sea. The waves were rough and the wind was raging. A large number of surviving Marines struggled in the sea, grabbing as many floating objects as possible. But what made them despair was that a large number of ghost soldiers spread their demonic wings and flew in the air. They refused to give up and continued to attack them. Obask William. The red figure roared unwillingly there. It flew out like a cannonball and blasted straight into the sea. On the sea, a huge splash exploded. Sakazuki Admiral. The surviving Marine yelled. There were also Marines on other warships who couldn't help but widen their eyes and screamed. No one could believe that Admiral Akainu, who represented the highest combat power of the naval headquarters, was at a disadvantage. He was blasted into the sea by Hell William. What's 287? Located on a large battleship several kilometers away. Seeing this astonishing scene, Aokiji's expression changed. Sakazuki. I never expected that Akainu would be suppressed so easily. And it was also blasted into the sea. Brush, the whole person jumped up immediately. The terrifying freezing air surged out directly. It turned into 2 icicles and stretched into the sea, continuously releasing freezing air. Ice Age. Ka. Ka. The sea in front of him continued to freeze at a speed visible to the naked eye. In the blink of an eye, the area where Akainu fell was completely frozen. It almost froze the distance between those warships and several islands. But the sea where the warship is located is not frozen. Obviously, this Marine Admiral is very sensible and has reserved a way out for himself out of caution. It just froze the sea area in front, providing a foothold for those Marines who fell into the water. Especially, among these strong men, they are the ones who really have the ability to fly. There is only one Kizaru, and he is somewhat unable to use it whether on a warship or on the sea. Moonwalk alone won't last long. Hey, you want to freeze the sea? You can't save him. At this time, William was murderous. Akainu locked in the sea. Without hesitation, his legs were like electricity and he kicked out violently. Tempest kick _ land chaos. Deck. In the blink of an eye, one after another, shocking blazing slashes appeared out of thin air. Carrying the powerful Haki, it easily tore apart the atmosphere. Advertisement continuously, they blasted into the ice ahead. It's as if you don't kill the opponent directly, vow not to give up. Thick ice, it was cut open like a torpedo. A large amount of broken ice, accompanied by strong airwaves, kept sputtering. Large amounts of smoke and dust were raised. Meteor volcano. Immediately afterwards, the hot breath keeps melting the ice. Akainu's embarrassed figure rushed out of the ice. Boom. Boom. One after another volcanic bombs wildly bombarded William in front. Launched a sharp and violent counterattack. However, there is no warning. The tall figure disappeared in midair in an instant, directly causing Akainu's attack to miss. The next moment, the whole person seemed to be teleporting. In an instant, he appeared behind Akainu. Without him, after the turbulent sea was frozen, the entire ice surface appeared uneven, with countless shadows. A large number of shadow lines that are almost invisible to the naked eye connect every corner at all times, allowing him to move instantly. For William, it is the best battlefield. Being able to rely on the existence of the shadow world to travel freely within those shadows. In an instant, a loud roar broke through the air. Wrapped around Haki's right foot, black and red lightning intertwined, suddenly overwhelming the atmosphere. Sweeping in without mercy. Boom! Akainu's complexion changed drastically and his hair stood up. Without even thinking about it, he crossed his arms at the moment he turned around, narrowly blocking. Woohoo! Along with the rolling heatwave, a large amount of magma fluid splashed out. The surrounding ice surface made a sizzling sound. Being constantly melted. Hateful, that powerful and heavy kick. There was no direct contact with the magma-formed arms. But the terrifying power caught Akainu off guard and struggled to stop him. His face turned red. This power, this monster. The whole person's eyes were wide open with anger, and the veins in his arms popped out, looking extremely exhausted. He was directly hit by the exaggerated power and couldn't help but retreat. The ice surface cracked and caved in when he stepped on it. It was not easy to lose the strength. Advertisement. Shinsō steadied his figure and clenched his fists tightly. Akainu stared at William in front of him, full of anger and murderous intent. You be ********************************************** Don't be so arrogant, not to be outdone. Rushing out like lightning, the magma-formed fistprint distorted the weather. It blasted towards William like a volcano erupting, dark hound. Ba fist. William's eyes were stern. The whole person's aura was terrifying. The right fist was clenched and suddenly expanded. It was as black and shiny as a giant's fist, intertwined with black and red lightning, and wrapped around the fishy hockey. Without showing any signs of weakness, he punched out boldly. Boom. There was a loud bang. That huge, indestructible black fist seal, like cast steel. In an instant, he was exposed to the extremely hot magma fist seal, which carried a terrifying impact and could burn through everything. There they collided in the air. OSOFT. The airwaves were rolling, and the ice surface was constantly cracking. Countless pieces of broken ice were sweeping there, making it difficult to open one's eyes. Gurgling. A large amount of magma kept flowing down. It melted the ice directly. Boiled seawater. Akainu, I have to thank you. William smiled, looked directly at Akainu in front of him, and said sarcastically, You Marines are afraid that the Hell Pirates will use the ability of lion fruit to drop more islands from the sky, causing too much losses to the fleet, so you deliberately disperse the fleet. Keep enough distance between each other, but this way, it will be easier for me to defeat them one by one. Originally, this formation could be said to be the optimal solution. But these Marine executives never imagined that William's Paramecia Shadow Fruit ability would be exaggerated to such an extent after awakening. Use the plundered shadows to create a ghost army that is different from the zombie army. It can actually pass through the shadow world and fight out of the ubiquitous shadows. Even these Oni 5.3 shadow warriors can inherit the fruit abilities of the original body. For example, Capone Beige can rely on the ability of the fortress fruit to travel with other members of the Hell Pirates. It makes people hard to guard against. What? Hearing this, Akainu's heart skipped a beat. There was a strong uneasiness. Subconsciously looking at the other warships, his pupils shrank and his expression changed drastically. Sure enough, there were constant shouts of killing from the distant sea. Even except for those black monsters that appeared inexplicably on the warship. I don't know when, but there seemed to be other figures also appearing on these warships, fighting with Marine. The situation is precarious. Damn it, what happened? This scene. It made him shocked and angry at the same time. I couldn't help but feel a chill in my heart. His face was livid, and he glared at William. You guy. Chapter 233, Chaotic Battlefield, Aokijiv's Bullet, EYEY. Damn, where did these guys come from? It's completely different from those black monsters just now. Is this the zombie army of the Hell Pirates? Damn pirates, fight them, now, cries of death, gunshots, screams. Noisy sounds continue to echo in this sea area. There are warships scattered on the sea, far apart from each other. A large number of ghost soldiers were constantly coming out of the shadows in every corner, fighting crazily with those Marines. And in addition to these ghost soldiers, there are actually a large number of zombie soldiers, and even members of the Hell Pirates suddenly appeared on the board. Those Marines were caught off guard by surprise and suffered heavy losses. Into an absolute disadvantage, people kept falling in a pool of blood. Kang. Sparks splashed and blades collided, an astonishing strong wind swept across suddenly. It directly knocked away the Marines, ghost soldiers, and zombie soldiers who were fighting all around. Damn it. Admiral Candidate Momosagi, holding the famous sword Jinbaluo tightly. Fighting against the Golden Lion who suddenly appeared on the battleship 24 and came up to kill him without mercy. Looking at the familiar yet unfamiliar figure in front of him, his pupils could not help but shrink, and he was a little shocked. Although we have heard that the legendary flying pirate Golden Lion may have been turned into a zombie by Hell William, when we actually saw it, we were still a little shocked. Flying dragon. Suddenly, a fierce flying slash. It transformed into a flying dragon with fangs and claws, and struck suddenly like lightning. What? Momosagi's hair stood on end. Without thinking, he retreated like lightning. Shen dodged the sudden attack. Looking at the blade in the person's hand, he couldn't help but shrink his eyes. Black knife Chu Shui? Boom. The extremely sharp flying dragon slashed without losing force, directly cutting off the mast. Even the cabin was cut in half. It made countless Marines break out in cold sweat. Extremely scary. Boom. At the same time, on another battleship not far away. Along with the dazzling light, the entire country's warships suddenly exploded. The flames were raging and the smoke was billowing. Ah! Ah! Countless Marines screamed there and were thrown away by the terrifying airwaves. Only a few Marine generals and officers rushed to the sky on the moonwalk. Most of the Marines fell directly into the sea. He swam desperately toward the ice not far away. 17,889. Wearing a brown plaid-like cloak, the somewhat ugly-looking Admiral Candidate T. Dolphin walked through the atmosphere and stayed in midair. With an ashen complexion, he glared angrily at the tall figure rising up in front of him. World Destroyer, burn the world. Advertisement, Wagagaga, you are that Admiral Candidate, aren't you? World steps on the atmosphere. Carrying a laser cannon in his hand, he pointed it at the T-Dolphin in front of him and said with a ferocious smile. Bear Lousie's anger for more than 20 years, Marine. Don't wait for Cha Do's response. The light on the black laser cannon barrel is dazzling. He showed no mercy and pulled the trigger, Momo 10-fold laser cannon. Wah! An astonishing laser beam shot out, and in the blink of an eye, it continued to expand and enlarge, directly turning into a laser beam the size of a fist. With lightning speed, it hit the T-Dolphin which changed color in shock. The light is dazzling. The whole body of the T-Dolphin exploded. A large amount of gravel spattered in all directions. Bang! A torn head was blown away and fell to the ice in front. But there was no bloody scene as imagined. Click, in World's surprised eyes. A large number of rocks kept popping up, condensing into human shapes at a speed visible to the naked eye. The figure of the T-Dolphin appeared there again. The whole person was unscathed. Aardvark machine gun. The T-Dolphin's eyes were stern. The right hand directly transformed into the shape of a machine gun. Boom! Boom! A large number of stones entangled Haki and shot out continuously. Like dense bullets, it blasted towards the sleeping world in midair. Hey, Logia, are you a user with soil fruit abilities? World chuckled ferociously. Stomping his feet, Momo, 10 times faster. At an astonishing speed, it turned into an afterimage and dodged the incoming rocks. He ran out on the moonwalk and reached the ice. He put the laser cannon behind his back and pulled out the revolver from his waist. Pull the trigger continuously, Momo 10-fold gun. A loud roar broke through the air. Bullets wrapped around Haki, magnifying them 10 times. Wah! They were like cannonballs, out of reach. Like lightning, it struck the T-Dolphin which changed color in horror. Not just here, distant on the sea. A huge wall of ice suddenly appeared there, blocked the incoming laser beams. But it exploded directly. A large area was vaporized by the terrifying high temperature and collapsed. Boom boom. An exaggerated and huge figure ran directly from the direction of the terrifying ship at an astonishing speed. The powerful observation Haki locked Aokiji, the Admiral of Headquarters. The devil spawned Deadless Bullet. Aokiji let out a cold breath. He couldn't care less about these Marines who were fighting with the ghost soldiers. Looking directly at the giant-like, murderous, charging robot, he jumped directly onto the ice and said, "What a scary guy." Admiral of Headquarters Aokiji. Advertisement. Relying on the ability of Paramecia Fusion Fruit, Deadless Bullet controls the robot that perfectly fits himself, smiling ferociously. Come on, let's fight. The ice rumbled and trembled. His feet suddenly accelerated and turned into an afterimage. He directly crossed a distance of tens or hundreds of meters and rushed in front of Aokiji. Huh! The atmosphere was directly suppressed. An alloy iron fist wrapped around Haki and shining with metallic luster blasted at Aokiji, the Marine Admiral. The murderous intent is fierce and unstoppable. It makes people break into cold sweats. In an instant, a loud noise shook the sky. A huge and extremely thick wall of ice, it was directly destroyed and mercilessly collapsed. Iceball. Aokiji jumped high and suddenly released amazing icicles with both hands. Submerged into the steel giant in front of him, want to freeze it directly. Brush. However, Bullet, who was fused with the robot, actually showed an exaggerated speed that was completely inconsistent with its size, and instantly dodged Aokiji's attack. Moreover, the huge figure was incredibly fast, 553 passing over to the right side of the Marine Admiral like an afterimage. A fierce punch wrapped around Haki, tearing the atmosphere apart. Come and kill without mercy. What? It seems a little unexpected. Aokiji was shocked, his pupils dilated. Boom boom, there was no surprise. Aokiji's whole body was blown to pieces and turned into broken ice. Frozen time capsule, but then, the terrifying cold air surged forward. It froze the legs of the steel giant who had no time to dodge. Crack. The terrible freezing air continued to spread towards the upper body. Make it unable to move anymore. Clone? Bullet's expression changed drastically. He stared at Aokiji, shocked and angry. What he just blasted to pieces was obviously just the opponent's clone. I'm sorry, a dangerous guy like you should die here. The cyan figure rushed over. He pressed one hand on the robot's shoulder, and an astonishing cold air could not help but be released. It was obviously prepared to completely freeze the entire robot, including the bullet inside. Hey, you're too happy too early, Bullet laughed ferociously. If it were an ordinary robot he synthesized before, it might actually be frozen. However, this gift from Hell William is extraordinary. Incendiary cannon, no warning. Each black gun barrel, Suddenly a strong flame burst out. Tongues of extremely blazing flames flooded towards Aokiji, who changed color in horror. What? Chapter 234 William, your mad dog fist is pretty good. Brush. Quick, get out of the way. Jason Rear Admiral, you, Damn it, what's going on? My body is out of control. BBT. On a large warship, the thin and sharp shadows are almost invisible to the naked eye. It flies out like lightning from every blind corner, making it difficult to dodge and making it impossible to guard against. The body of a marine was completely out of control and was directly killing each other. Even those generals and officers are no exception. No matter how hard you struggle, you can't resist. Swords were waved, gunshots were fired, and people kept falling in a pool of blood. Some people were ruthlessly cut in half by the extremely sharp shadow line. It's just a matter of moments. Nearly 1,000 elite marines on a large battleship were all slaughtered. It makes people feel chilly. Scalp numbness. Next ship. A black figure instantly disappeared on the warship. The next moment, he appeared directly on another warship. Brush. Swipe. A large number of shadow lines flew out. Even some experienced generals and officers sensed something was wrong and dodged in advance. Still can't escape, because Marine doesn't know this at all. Those shadow lines were never aimed at their bodies, but at their shadows. There were also shadow lines that penetrated directly through the deck, instantly controlling these Marine officers. F. My body is out of control, damn it, get away quickly. No, Colonel Took. 030039, countless Marines screamed. There they fight each other uncontrollably. A bloody and cruel scene appeared again. Boom. The hot and scalding magma fist print. It collided hard with the fist mark that shone with electric light and wrapped around Hockey. An astonishing heat wave swept across. Damn it, could it be? I heard screams coming from the warship in the distance. Akainu noticed something unusual and glanced subconsciously. Seeing those Marines killing each other, his pupils shrank and his expression changed drastically. Moreover, he vaguely saw a figure that was almost exactly the same as the William in front of him, and he disappeared in a flash. You guy, what on earth did you do? His eyes were blazing, and he stared at William in front of him, glaring angrily. He once heard Kizaru mention it very carefully. The opponent also has a clone whose strength is almost the same as the main body, and even has the same abilities. But until now, they haven't been summoned at all. Advertisement apparently they were sent out to hunt down those Marines. William's face was calm and full of fun. Why did he go out of his way to release the three monsters, Red Earl Rider, Bullet, and Brandy World, who were originally imprisoned in eternal hell with amazing strength and could not possibly be subordinate to others? They even gave the Red Earl the ability to take the form of a phantom beast and a vampire for free, and also directly gave away a large number of morphological memory alloys, and even laser weapons, incineration cannons and other new weapons developed by Germa 66 to the owners. Paramecia Douglas Bullet, which has the ability to combine fruit and greatly increase its combat power. Let this, aloof Red, who has an arrogant personality, always be a loner and is unwilling to form an alliance with anyone, and the Devil's Descendant, who is unruly and cruel, and pursues a powerful person, take action. The purpose is to completely leave the entire Buster Call fleet behind. It severely damaged Marine so that it would not be able to truly recover in the next few years, cutting off an arm of the world government. Gain time and space for the next development of the Hell Pirates. Akainu was furious. Full of anger and murderous intent, he relentlessly attacked them. The magma-formed fists carried the powerful Hockey. The atmosphere was burned and twisted, waving wildly. The bombardment continued. Murderous. It's a pity that you can't stop. The Flame King Snake Chow Peacock. William laughed. Both fists were burning with blazing flames, violently rubbing against the atmosphere. The fist seals all over the sky, carrying blazing firelight, are as gorgeous as a peacock spreading its tail. Densely packed flame fist seals. Go out to meet the attack. There were constant loud noises and waves of heat. The terrifying magma and fire kept sputtering out. The surrounding ice is constantly melting, turning into boiling seawater, steaming with heat. Accept your fate, Akainu. What awaits you is only defeat, there is no second way. The battlefield between the two continues to move forward. William was full of strength and attacked directly. The violent fist marks were burning with blazing fire, stretching and contracting like rubber. Turned into endless afterimages, constantly bending and turning. From all corners, they came overwhelmingly, make it impossible for the other party to avoid it. Fire King Snake. Don't underestimate Marine, Dark Hound. Akainu is not to be outdone. He was so angry that he looked as ferocious as a mad dog. The magma-formed fists blasted out like a volcano that had been silent for a long time. A terrible heat wave hit us. People can't help but change their color in shock. Boom, sizzling atmospheric distortion. Waves of red heat. It turned into ripples visible to the naked eye, wreaking havoc there. The red figure flew out like a cannonball, embarrassed. Smoke and dust billowed, and ice and debris flew. Caught off guard, Akainu was blown away by the turning fist seal, and Akainu's entire body was embedded in the ice. Advertisement, Tempest Kick Guy Bird, William jumped high into the air. Observation Haki locked onto Akainu's aura. With cold eyes and murderous intent, he carried Haki's right leg and teared the air and kicked it out. Dist. A dazzling slash cut through the air. It transformed into a giant bird, carrying a powerful emission, and came to kill him. Without mercy, he suddenly blasted towards the ice. Tilda the dog bites the red lotus. Roar, between the electric light and flint. The scalding heat wave dyed the ice red. A giant magma dog rushed out. Carrying terrible heat, they rushed over brazenly. The loud noise shook the sky. A large amount of magma liquid can't help but spread out. At the same time, waves of fiery breath melted the ice. Damn you, kid. In an instant, the embarrassed figure ran out. There is bloodline hanging from the corner of the mouth, and the whole body is flowing with hot magma, full of ferocity. Extremely ferocious, staring fiercely at William in front of him. Unspeakable anger. He's such a tough guy. William's aura was majestic, and his whole body was shining with astonishing electric light. Electric arcs are constantly erupting in the body, constantly stimulating its own nerve cells. It greatly increases all-round acceleration, strengthening its own speed, strength, and reaction ability. His body was as fast as lightning. His right foot is wrapped around Haki, intertwined with black and red lightning. Like an incomparably sharp axe, the wolf slashed and killed Nanuos. But the red figure didn't even think about it and retreated directly. There was no hard resistance and he dodged narrowly. Avoiding this exaggerated blow, there was a loud bang. The ice layer with a radius of hundreds of meters collapsed directly. In an instant, the extremely thick ice surface cracked like a spiderweb. And a large number of cracks are spreading. Brush. William was furious. They pursue and kill without mercy, without giving the opponent any chance to breathe. The flaming fists were intertwined with strong electric light, carrying Haki. Huh. Huh. Fist marks all over the sky poured in like a violent storm. The corners of his mouth were raised, and he was filled with madness as he laughed. Akainu, your mad dog fist is really good. Come on, continue to please me as much as you like. Meteor volcano. The roaring sound in the air continued. The hot breath comes from lying on the face. What responded to William was the magma bombs that carried terrifying high temperatures one after another and could burn through everything. Endless murderous intent. Chapter 235 The Attack of the Hell Pirates. Iket. Damn monsters, endless. Damn pirates, fight them. For the sake of justice, everyone, come forward. On a large warship, there were constant shouts of killing. A large number of marines, fearless of death, fought with those shadow soldiers and zombie soldiers. And on the bow not far away, two figures with astonishing momentum were fighting fiercely there. Sparks sputter. The sound of gold and iron clashing continues. Rob Lucci, who is born with horns and a ferocious face. At this moment, the whole body is covered with dragon scales, holding a long dragon tail. It has entered the human animal form, covered with Haki's claws, and constantly collides with a naval headquarters vice admiral with a punk head, a mustache, and a big cloak. With soaring power and powerful defense, face off against the elite vice admiral of naval headquarters. Not falling behind at all. Kang, the blade struck out boldly. He was blocked by Haki's sharp claws. Staring hard at the ferocious monster in front of him, the somewhat struggling flying squirrel vice admiral had a stern look on his face. Is this monster invulnerable? Flying squirrel vice admiral, it's been a long time. Lu Chi, who was in his bestiality form, looked directly at the flying squirrel vice admiral in front of him, showing a stern smile, obviously knowing him. But saying hello is still saying hello. The movements of his hands were completely merciless. Finger pistol Madara. The extremely sharp claws are constantly tearing apart the atmosphere. Like dense bullets, they were blasting away like crazy. Rob Lucci, I didn't expect that a guy like you would also betray the world government. 650. Flying squirrel vice admiral said in a deep voice. This is fate. I am very satisfied with my current life. Lucci bared his teeth and smiled. I have no regrets at all about my decision, but I am full of joy. Otherwise, stay in world government. There is nothing to gain except being a dog for the world government. Who should be treated as a dog? At least in the Hell Pirates, he can not only gain powerful power, but also maintain considerable freedom. There is no need to be bossed around by those worthless losers who rely on the protection of their ancestors to humbly work as undercover agents and waste their youth. At the very least, he was 100% convinced of William, a monster who couldn't be judged by common sense. Really? That's such a pity, constantly dodging the incoming sharp claws? Flying Squirrel Vice Admiral's eyes were cold and he said coldly, it's a pity that your life is about to end here. The next moment, he launched a counterattack. Holding the blade wrapped around Haki, he suddenly rushed out. He swung the knife and struck Lu Chi in front of him. Shaving. Lu Chi stepped forward fiercely, dodging the flying squirrel's chop for the first time. In an instant, he appeared in midair. The right foot was like an electric shock, and it struck down hard. Tempest kick hyphenation point landed, an astonishing slash came. The flying squirrel couldn't help but change its color, and tried to block with a horizontal sword. Kang. The sound of gold and iron clashing was deafening. The terrifying blazing slash was powerful and heavy. The direct pressure caused the flying squirrel's veins to bulge, the whole person couldn't help but fall backwards, and the deck cracked under the steps. Advertisement, CEDC, damn. What kind of power is this? The flying squirrel's muscles tightened and its face turned red. I was inexplicably shocked, and I felt like my knees were about to be bent, and my jaws were about to be torn apart. Wake it up for me, finally, he gritted his teeth. Trying his best, the sword was lifted by Wolf. The shocking slash deviated from the trajectory. Boom. The force continued unabated, and it blasted into the distance. It exploded on the thick ice, leaving shocking huge slash marks. Bang bang. However, the flying squirrel didn't wait to take a breath. Lu Chi had already rushed over. A huge dragon's tail suddenly struck over. Lan Gailong swings its tail. Call out, the atmosphere was torn apart directly. An extremely sharp slash, spinning and cutting. Shave. The flying squirrel stamped its feet fiercely, its body like lightning. He narrowly dodged the blow. There was a loud noise and sawdust flew. The bow of the ship was directly struck by the sharp slash, ruthlessly torn apart and penetrated. The turbulent sea water keeps pouring in. What? The flying squirrel stepped on the moonwalk and narrowly landed on the ice in front of the warship. But Rob Lucci has already rushed out of the atmosphere. He chased and killed him without mercy. The two figures were like needlepoints facing each other. There was a fierce confrontation, and they were fighting there. Kang. The blade and claws collided fiercely, but unexpectedly, the pink dragon tail suddenly stretched out and rolled up like a lion majesty. Brush. Extremely fast as lightning. He directly tied up the flying squirrel, who was careless and had no time to dodge. What? The flying squirrel changed color in shock. He struggled hard, but the dragon's tail became tighter and tighter, making him completely unable to get rid of it. You're careless, Vice Admiral Flying Squirrel. Lu Chi was grinning ferociously there. With the return of life and control of the dragon's tail, he firmly entangled the Flying Squirrel Naval Headquarters Vice Admiral. Damn it. The blade wrapped around Haki struck the dragon's tail hard. But there was a sound of gold and iron clashing, but it couldn't be shaken. 6 styles. Lu Chi was murderous. The fists covered with scales and sharp claws became dark and shiny, and they came together. The amazing armament Haki, entwined and flowing there. The invisible fluctuations directly distorted the atmosphere. It turned into a violent shockwave and hit the flying squirrel, whose expression changed greatly. 6 styles maximum wheel 6 king gun, armed color iron body. Boom boom. Goob. Slash wave, on another large warship in the distance. A dazzling slash struck. It was as if he would not give up until he split the warship in half. Let the Marines who are fighting ghost soldiers and zombie soldiers change their colors in horror. Kang. There was lightning and flint. A tall figure rushed out. Advertisement: the interlaced blades narrowly blocked the blazing slash. Damn it. The Ghost Spider Vice Admiral, wearing a helmet with a double dragon head pattern and a shockingly ugly face, and wearing a marine cloak of justice, raised his arms vigorously. The dazzling slash flew directly towards the sky. Hey, isn't this the Ghost Spider Vice Admiral? Shiryu ignores Dana Tilda. Shiryu of the Rain came from the sky and greeted him energetically. Shiryu of the Rain, you damn traitor. Vice Admiral, the Ghost Spider, has a gloomy look. He stepped directly into the atmosphere and rushed up. In addition to his hands, his hair stretched continuously as if it had a sense of life, turning into tentacles, controlling 6 blades. There he kept swinging and slashed at Shiryu of the Rain. Spider Ghost Slash. Cold light. The blades kept clashing. Shiryu of the Rain chewed his cigar and looked calm. The famous sword Lei Yu in his hand could not help but block the incoming blade, appearing to be very capable. Flying Dragon. A hard blow. His figure flew out upside down. The thunderstorm violently opened the atmosphere and unleashed a killing blow. Whoosh. The blazing slash turned directly into a lifelike flying dragon. Baring his teeth and claws, he roared towards the Ghost Spider. The 8 blades are intertwined, making it a dangerous block. But the Ghost Spider was still thrown upside down by the terrifying force. Somewhat awkwardly, he fell onto the ice behind him. Lion Majesty. Govern place earth coiling. Woo. The corners of Shiryu's mouth raised. The free index finger of his left hand hooked directly. Rumble. Without any warning. The ice surface suddenly rumbled and trembled, and it stirred up. As if it had a sense of life, it turned into Uzumaki and rolled violently there. Roar. In the blink of an eye, an ice sculpture lion as huge as a mountain, extremely ferocious, and majestic was formed, roaring continuously. Just open your mouth wide open. He pounced on the Ghost Spider Vice Admiral, who was caught off guard. What? The Ghost Spider changed color in shock. In a hurry, he retreated without hesitation. At the same time, he vigorously waved out shocking slashes one after another, and tried his best to resist. Trying to block the relentless pursuit of the fierce and roaring lion. On the ice, there was a roar. A large amount of crushed ice splashed out there. The huge ice lion was directly torn and destroyed by the slashes one after another. Hey, that's it, Ghost Spider Hand, but at the same time. Floating in the air, Shiryu of the Rain, who was already ready to attack, laughed ferociously and took action directly. Observation Haki locked the ghost spider firmly before he could breathe a sigh of relief, and slashed down with the frightening cold blade without giving the opponent any time to breathe. Rainfall. Det. The sound of breaking through the air continued. One after another, shocking slashes were like dense raindrops. Continuously and continuously. It directly drowned the ghost spider who had no time to dodge. Chapter 236. The Marine Generals who were retreating steadily and being hunted. ISYIY. On the sea. No one found out. A huge pterosaur flapped its wings and soared there, circling back and forth in the high sky. On its back sat a figure. But whether it was a pterosaur or that tall and thin figure. They are all transparent at this moment, and their whereabouts are completely invisible to the naked eye. It turned out to be Van Oka, the sniper of the Hell Pirates. He was relying on the ability of the transparent fruit to hide in the sky, constantly moving, and hunting down those targets. The high-power sniper scope in the right eye locked onto the target. Van Oka is holding the gun lure that has been modified by the scientific team and has been greatly enhanced in terms of firing speed, shooting accuracy, and even range. Aiming at one on the distant warship, Naval Headquarters Rear Admiral. Don't hesitate to pull the trigger. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. On a large warship in the distance, several invisible bullets shot through the air like lightning. It penetrated the head of a Naval Headquarters Rear Admiral in an instant. There was a splash of blood. Rose Rear Admiral. Damn it, is it a sniper? Trite, this horrific scene. The Marines around him were all lying, but looking in all directions, I couldn't find where the sniper was hiding. However, they don't care about that much anymore. As time goes by, our own casualties are increasing. Even though Marine had specially prepared enough salt to deal with the Hell Pirates, he also knew the weaknesses of the zombie army and the ghost army. But these zombies and ghost warriors are not standing still and letting themselves be slaughtered. On the contrary, he is brave and not afraid of death. This is extremely brave. And quite a few of them are surprisingly strong. Facing the seemingly endless army of ghosts and zombies that are still rushing out from every corner, these Marines have gradually become unable to withstand them. There were already many warships on board, and the Marine camp was at a disadvantage and even began to fall. Overall, Marine's situation is already precarious. B-467. Clang, the sound of fighting continued, and Marines kept falling in a pool of blood. There are also constantly ghost soldiers or zombie soldiers, who are purified with salt and their shadows escape. Shave. Hateful pirate, go to death. A Naval Headquarters Commodore stamped his feet. With great speed, he rushed in front of Luo. He struck with his sword. Sparks sputter. Field sword ghost cry, blocking the opponent. But Luo did not continue to fight hard, but took advantage of the situation and retreated, widening the distance. Room slaughterhouse. The palm of his left hand was facing down, opening a barrier visible to the naked eye. The next moment, don't wait for the other party to rush forward. The blade struck out violently. Cut it off. What? The Naval Headquarters Rear Admiral changed his color in shock. I saw that my whole body had been cut in half. The upper body loses balance. It was falling straight down, dodged several incoming bullets. Nokagao sprinkled a handful of seeds directly towards those Marines. Lush, lush. Swipe. Advertisement. A large number of plant seeds began to take root and sprout. It grows wildly there at an incredible speed. In the blink of an eye, they turned into huge tree vines and circled directly towards the Marines. Ah. Immediately afterwards, a large number of zombies and ghost warriors rushed forward to hit the enemy without any intention of dueling. Cut those Marines into pieces. The scene was bloody. Thunderweather. The other side. Nami floats in midair. Her body is extremely flexible. Astonishing clouds are continuously released, and a large number of thunderclouds gather, intertwined with lightning. Attack those Marines and slash them down hard. On another large warship a few miles away. It was also a one-sided massacre, and the ratio of the warship where Nami and others were on was even more exaggerated. Hee tilde, negative ghost, Princess Mononoke. Perona held a flower umbrella and floated there. Countless negative ghosts were released from the palms of their hands and rushed directly towards the Marines who were fighting ghost soldiers and zombie soldiers at an alarming speed. Make it impossible for them to dodge easily. The Marines lost their fighting spirit and became extremely passive. One by one, they knelt there and killed them with their necks pressed. I'm sorry for being a human being. I'd love to be a flea. I don't deserve to live. If there is an afterlife, I would like to be a dung beetle. All kinds of extremely shameful words. It came from the mouths of the Marines who were kneeling on the ground with their spirits down. But immediately, they were ruthlessly hit by the Shadow Army and Zombie Army. He let out screams one after another, and fell into a pool of blood one after another. It makes people feel chilly. Scalp numbness. Damn it, you guy. Geisha Rear Admiral glared at Perona. Waving the blade, he rushed forward on moonwalk. However, in his shocked and incomprehensible eyes, the blade wrapped around Haki passed directly through the opponent's body. The next moment, a hand suddenly pressed on his body. A negative ghost passed through his body and flew out from behind. Plop. Geisha's eyes widened and he froze. The next moment, he stopped stepping on the atmosphere and fell down. It fell directly to the deck. He was given no chance to breathe at all. Several negative ghosts rushed over and lay directly on him. Sorry, I don't deserve to be a human being. Geisha is filled with depression. He knelt there motionless. Geisha Vice Admiral. A Marine screamed when he saw this. Hey tilde 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 hey tilde 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 hey tilde tilde tilde. Let me get rid of you. Kira, a murderous warrior who wore a hole-shaped mask and was full of ruthlessness, smiled strangely and rushed forward. The sickles on both hands were spinning violently. Cleanly, the head of the Naval Headquarters Vice Admiral was severed. On another warship, there was also constant fighting. Advertisement: a large number of ghost soldiers and zombie legions, as well as 2 or 3 members of the Hell Pirates, invaded here. Fighting fiercely with those Marines. Bullets one after another slid directly past Zon Yu Hunter's body. Her face was completely different from her original ugly face, her skin looked smooth and tender, and she was beautiful and well dressed. Asterisk, wearing a gorgeous and decent outfit, she blinked her eyes and chuckled. Hey, my skin is very smooth. There were even some Marines who almost forgot that this was a battlefield and were attracted by her beauty, and their eyes were filled with red hearts. But Xuanyue Hunter was holding a Western sword and was extremely ruthless. A Marine named Marine was mercilessly beheaded by him, and his head rolled to the ground, covered in blood. It's chilling. Damn woman. Steers, a Vice Admiral of Naval Headquarters, rushed up. The blade struck out hard. Kang, sparks splashed. The Western sword in Catherine Dime's hand easily blocked the opponent's attack. Looking at him full of fun. Hey, we meet again, Vice Admiral Thiers. This laughter. Could it be you? Steers, who had originally had a fiery gaze, suddenly enlarged his pupils. He looked at the sexy beauty with fair skin and extremely hot figure in front of him in disbelief. Are you? Xuanyue Hunter? Catherine Dime? Zon Yu Hunter is an extremely ferocious female pirate who has made countless women jealous after hearing about her. He had led the fleet several times to chase the opponent, but he was always defeated by the cunning Xuanyue Hunter. In the end, it was Momosagi, the admiral candidate, who took action in person, pretending to be a beautiful geisha, and seduced Catherine Chom, who liked to collect the heads of beautiful women, into her own trap, and finally caught her. Thanks to that B*** the Momosagi. Impel Down's blood pool is extremely hot. Catherine Dime smiled strangely. The Western sword in his hand shows no mercy at all. Wrapping around Hockey, he stabbed out suddenly, tricky and ruthless. Shoo! A sharp slash penetrated the atmosphere. However, Steers, who is the elite Vice Admiral of Naval Headquarters and has extensive combat experience, narrowly avoided it. It penetrated the rear deck. Kang, sparks splashed and blades collided. 2 figures were fighting fiercely there. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. But there was no sign. Several rounds of bullets suddenly broke through the air. It shot toward Steers' head. What? Steers' hair stood up. Without thinking, he subconsciously dodged. Behind him, an unlucky Marine soldier shouted. Fell in a pool of blood. Kai, a cold light flashed. Steers, whose expression changed drastically, was caught off guard. The chest was cut with a shocking, bone-deep gash. Drenched with blood. You're careless. Zawi Hunter smiled strangely. Van Oka, who doesn't mind hiding in the sky and constantly killing high-value targets, intervenes in his battle. As long as she can win, she doesn't care about fair duels or morality. Not to mention, this is war, which means defeating the enemy by any means necessary. Damn it. Steers was shocked and angry. He could only endure the pain and wave the blade. He hurriedly fought against the Zon Yu Hunter, who was relentless and came forward to kill him again. At the same time, I had to concentrate on guarding against snipers in the dark, which was extremely frustrating. But completely fell behind. Chapter 237 1 verses 7. The crushed Momosagi open black lens bracket 4th update close black lens bracket. Kokooko, on a warship. A thin figure showed a speed completely inconsistent with its body shape and rushed past like a ghost. Head clipped all. Every Marine who was touched screamed. Bang! Bang! In an instant, they turned into toys one after another, and were spliced together to form a large doll. Along with those ghost soldiers, zombie soldiers rushed towards the others. 1389. The huge shark cutting knife struck hard. But the thin figure quickly dodged it. The tall Naval Headquarters Vice Admiral Bastiu, wearing a horn mask, glared at the opponent. Are you the bad child, Helen Alice? At the same time, looking at those dolls, his eyes were full of fear. Evil child, Helen Alice. Rumor has it that she is a young girl, no less than 30 or 40 years old, but her appearance is that of a little girl less than 10 years old, completely indistinguishable. What makes people's scalp numb is even more. This female pirate has always liked 193 girls who pretend to be weak, innocent, and have no life experience. Using the sympathy of others or the quirks of those dignitaries to smelt copper, they sneak into the homes of wealthy businessmen or nobles. After finding out the whereabouts of the treasures, they directly kill the other people and massacre their families. Even when facing the old, weak, women and children, he showed no mercy. The methods are ruthless and extremely cruel. Uncle, do you know me? The pretty girl squinted her crescent-shaped eyes and smiled sweetly. What an honor. Stop pretending to be soft, you vicious woman with a vicious heart. Bastiu waved his shark-killing knife and struck at him mercilessly. The thick deck was directly split open. The thin figure is extremely fast, lightning fast. After dodging the attack of the shark sword, he quickly rushed towards Bastiu. Ah la la, you are such an uneducated guy, who do you think is pretending to be young? The childish face became distorted and ferocious. Helen Alice showed her sharp fangs and said viciously, didn't your marshal teach you to be gentler and polite when treating ladies? Huh. A voice roared through the air. Wrapping around Hockey's right foot, the wolf kicked over. This prisoner from Eternal Hell, who was selected by William as the new childlike fruit power user, is obviously not on the same level as Sugar in terms of combat power. Boom. Between the electric light and flint, the shark-cutting knife was dangerously lying in front of him, blocking the incoming kick. The exaggerated power shocked Bastiu, the naval headquarters vice-admiral, and he couldn't help but take a dozen steps back. However, at this moment, a swift figure suddenly ran towards him. What? Bastia's expression changed drastically, but it was too late to dodge or block. The frightening cold light directly tore his body apart. It brought up a bloody flower. Ah, Bastiu vice-admiral. A marine shouted there. No one expected that Bastiu, the naval headquarters vice-admiral, would be severely damaged so easily. Gudong tilde 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 gudong tilde tilde tilde, it's really good, advertisement. Shaking the blood beads on the blade, he was holding a wine gourd and pouring wine into his mouth. His skin was red, and he looked at the somewhat drunken, Big Barrel, Bacchus Choate, who was acting strangely. Next moment, he gave a grim laugh. A mouthful of high-strength liquor suddenly spurted out. I'll give you another ride, liquor's fire. Call, the hot breath came to my face. An astonishing burst of flames surged out. It directly overwhelmed Bastiu, who had just been hit hard and had no time to dodge. Crackling. Dig digifg. The other side. A marine screamed there. A large warship was directly torn apart by the astonishing slash and slowly sank to the bottom of the sea. The sea was boiling. Lines of terrifying sword energy kept pouring out. Several figures of different shapes and astonishing momentum were fighting fiercely there. From above the sea to the ice, it was Momoshagi, the naval headquarters vice-admiral, and the 7 zombie kings, Golden Lion, Swordsman Ryoma, Gekko Moria, Three-Eyed Tribe Rock, Lunaria Tribe Cypher, Bacania Tribe Tyne, and Giant Werewolf Orf. The admiral candidate was completely besieged. Trouble. Momoshagi pulled away and looked stern. Looking at the figures of different shapes in front of me. Unspeakable fear. Slash wave. The Golden Lion wields its blade. Without mercy, he struck Momoshagi with a blazing slash. Flying Dragon. The swordsman Ryoma also took action, and the black sword cut open the atmosphere. The astonishing slash turned into a flying dragon and attacked. Boom, 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 dazzling light gathered there. Gekko Moria stretched out his hands and opened his mouth, revealing the black barrels of the guns. Directly towards the opponent, he shot several blazing laser beams. Double sword-style ghost flash. Locke is a special zombie of the Three-Eyed clan. His third eye is extremely magical and locks on Momoshagi in front of him. Swinging 2 swords. 2 blazing slashes, in the shape of a cross. Todoroki came over. Fire Dragon. The flaming blade was pointed directly at Momoshagi. Lu Cypher, a strong man from the Lunaria tribe, was filled with murderous intent, and the flames on the back of his head were extinguished. Roar. A huge flame dragon rushed out from the blade. Carrying terrifying high temperatures, distorting the weather. Came roaring. Tempest Kick hyphenation point Landon. Tyne, a Bacanian zombie, rushed up and tore through the atmosphere with his right foot like lightning. A huge slash cut through the atmosphere, it hit hard. Soul removing Iron Claw. The giant werewolf Orf has an amazing momentum. The whole body was flashing with wisps of arcs of electricity, and the claws tore through the atmosphere fiercely. Advertisement, wah. The sharp blade cut through the air. Attacking Momoshagi violently, these zombie kings all attack with all their strength. The complete lack of vitality made Momoshagi, the Admiral Skin Care Supplement, change his color in horror. The whole person changed at a speed visible to the naked eye, using the Devil Fruit ability. There he waved the gold pira in his hand. Try your best to resist. Destroy the ancients. The ice surface was shaking violently. The airwaves were rolling and the sea was boiling. Momoshagi was covered in blood and was knocked upside down. Bang. In the ruins, a bloody figure rushed out, in a state of embarrassment. Moreover, the ferocious-looking Momosagi's mouth was bleeding with blood and his aura was shocking. Damn it. The outer skin on the body is falling off at a speed visible to the naked eye. It's scary. Hell thrust 4 pen hands. The giant werewolf is too fast. The murderous intent is strong and they are rushing to attack. The sharp claws shine directly with amazing electric light. With lightning speed and no haste, it covers the ears. Heading towards Momoshagi. Kyla, blood splashed. Momoshagi was seriously injured and his movements were somewhat sluggish. Although he tried his best to dodge, his shoulder was still torn and bleeding continued. The pretty face that was a little bloody and slightly ferocious was indescribably solemn. Looking at these amazing figures in front of him, he was a little frightened. What kind of monsters did that guy from Hell William create? They are so powerful. Fire Emperor. Woo. The black wings vibrated. A tall black figure swooped in like lightning. The right fist is wrapped around the 0.2 powerful hockey, carrying blazing fire. It hit hard. The fire was soaring into the sky and the heat wave was rolling. The ice surface was directly blasted to the point of collapse. Large areas of ice, as well as countless pieces of broken ice, were directly melted and turned into boiling seawater. Brush. Momosagi's embarrassed figure narrowly dodged the blazing flames. Without hesitation, Jin Luo suddenly raised his hand and was about to counterattack directly. But others didn't give her such a chance at all. Lion. Thousand Slice Valley. In the blink of an eye, the Golden Lion, who was already ready to attack, and the extremely powerful three-eyed zombie Locke, both took action directly. Sakura Ju and Kiku. Enma and second-generation Kidetsu. There it was constantly tearing apart the atmosphere and waving wildly. Moreover, even Locke, a strong man from the Three-Eyed Clan, directly used Golden Lion's swordsmanship. Whoosh. Whoosh. A large number of slashes were overwhelming, pouring towards Tavon. There was no way to avoid it, blocking all her escape routes. It's scary and despairing. Chapter 238. Defeat, Lariat. Boom, the heat is rolling. The hot magma fluid kept splashing out. There were pits and cracks all over, and the ravaged ice surface was constantly melting. There were bursts of heat visible to the naked eye, and large areas of seawater were boiling so hot that they were about to boil. DXX. Notice the condition of the fleet. Akainu's face was livid, and some of his eyes were about to burst. He waved his magma fist seal crazily and attacked William in front of him. Bang. Bang. William looked calm and at ease. The fists intertwined with black and red lightning continued to crush the atmosphere. Without showing any signs of weakness, he faced off against the naval headquarters general there. Boom. Sigh. Strong collision. The ice cracked. There was clearly no real contact between the dark fist mark and the hot magma fist. But it directly caused the magma liquid to fly out, and the exaggerated power shocked Akainu, the Marine Admiral, and couldn't help but change his color. There seems to be an invisible barrier between the two. There they were constantly bumping and pushing against each other. Not giving in to each other. Hey, it's almost done. William's eyes narrowed, the corners of his mouth slightly raised. DD. 24. As expected, the electric light shines. A black figure covered his ears with lightning speed. With sharp edges and murderous intent, he struck from behind like lightning. The hand knife was intertwined with dazzling electric light, entangled with the flowing hockey, and penetrated fiercely. Unstoppable. Hell thrust 4 pen hands. What? Akainu was caught off guard, his expression changed, and his hair stood up. Pupils, suddenly dilated. Massive amounts of magma liquid kept spewing out. Lava splashes, accompanied by scarlet blood flowers. Akainu rolled out of the ice in a panic. Whoosh. Faced with William, who was unwilling to give up and rushed forward. Magma bombs exploded out one after another, blocking the opponent. D. Barely able to keep his body steady. Holding his bloody shoulder, Akainu's face turned pale. His eyes were fixed on William's side, and the magma bomb directly blocked him. On the chest that was hit by the magma bomb, a silk-like black shadow surged, completely ignoring the high-temperature damage and recovering at a speed visible to the naked eye, a figure that was exactly the same as Hell William. Akainu, your fate is over. Advertisement. The whole body shone with electricity. Staring at Akainu in front of him, William's eyes were cold and murderous, and he spoke with a sneer. Hey. His right hand began to take the shape of a knife, and black shadows surged, directly covering the sharp shadow spear, intertwined with terrifying black and red lightning. The electric arc in the body is constantly erupting, stimulating the muscles and nerves. It greatly strengthens its own combat effectiveness. And his shadow clone also shone with an astonishing electric light. And he disappeared directly beside William in an instant. Appeared on the other side of Akainu. The two formed a pincer attack. Don't get carried away there. Akainu was furious and ran out. The fist mark wrapped around hockey became extremely red, bubbling with scalding heat, and thick smoke billowed. You are still far away from me if you want to kill me. Dog bites Gurren. Magma fluid gurgled. The fists that he swung out with all his strength turned into giant magma dogs. Roar. Carrying the terrifying high temperature distorted the atmosphere and melted large swaths of ice in an instant. One on the left and one on the right, they attacked William and his shadow clone. Hell thrust horn blade shadow. William's eyes were stern. As soon as he stepped on it, his figure was almost reaching ultimate, making it completely impossible to see clearly. Directly like a ghost, it disappeared in front of the magma giant dog. It's very strange. In an instant, the giant magma dog with its bloody mouth opened and rushed over, splitting directly into two. Torn apart mercilessly. Horrifying. Make Akainu's hair stand on end. With his fairly strong observation hockey, he predicted the fatal crisis. Suddenly dodged sideways. Kai. William's figure, which was as fast as lightning and completely invisible to the naked eye, disappeared in a flash. Narrowly avoided by Akainu, but at the same time. The Shadow Mage, who was exactly the same as William, disappeared in the same strange place. A sharp black spear intertwined with black and red lightning. He bypassed the giant magma dog that came to kill him. From unpreventable blind spots, attacked like lightning. Blood splattered. Akainu retreated in embarrassment. The right shoulder was torn with a shocking gash. It was bloody, with bones visible deep inside, makes your scalp numb. 13,889. Akainu looked ferocious, full of anger and grievance, and even some unspeakable fear. I never expected that Hell William's strength would be so strong. Although he thought he had overestimated the opponent as much as possible, he still underestimated this ridiculously young and equally powerful monster. DZ. One left and one right, two fiery figures shine. Advertisement. The whole body exudes a frightening and powerful aura, and it is still rising. The black spear edge dispersed, and the clenched right fist was raised brazenly. With the powerful observation haki, the sky locked Yan. Murderous. Crackling, wisps of black and red lightning. Constantly intertwining and jumping, the terrifying haki is almost overflowing. A fatal sense of crisis surged out of Akainu's heart, making people change their color in horror. That's Aokiji, who was having a fierce battle with Bullet, and even Kizaru, who was constantly fighting against Red Earl Redfield in Punk Hazard. Even the two Admiral candidates Momoshagi and T-Dolphin, who were directly attacked by those special zombies in cooperation with Brandy World, were completely suppressed. They couldn't help but change their color in shock. There was a strong uneasiness. Is that the move Perusalino said? The first person to bear the brunt is naturally Sakazuki himself. Thinking of Kizaru's extremely cautious introduction and warning, even Akainu, the admiral who represents the highest combat power of the naval headquarters, couldn't help but change his face. His face was unprecedentedly solemn. The muscles are tight and the veins are bulging. Magma surged all over the body, even covering armament haki. We have to be prepared and don't dare to be careless. B. Three-headed dog of hell. Next moment. Instead of waiting to die, a large amount of magma gushes out. The huge three-headed dog stood there, like a giant beast crawling out of the magma hell, bathed in rolling lava and bubbling with scalding heat. The three huge heads are ferocious and terrifying. Extremely fierce and terrifying. ZZ, gurgling lava. Large areas of ice are constantly melting and evaporating. Without hesitation, Sakazuki took the initiative with madness in his eyes. Roar. The three-headed giant dog bathed in lava, covered with high-level armament haki. Three extremely ferocious huge heads opened their blood-hot mouths and roared in unison. Without mercy, he attacked William and his Shadow Mage. Ju Niu Lei Li Ri now. In an instant, the two figures with terrifying aura disappeared from the same place. Who? The extremely terrifying fist mark directly crushed the atmosphere. One after another, they penetrated fiercely. It's almost ultimate, and it's hard to react. It even directly blocked his escape route, giving Akainu no chance to dodge. Both speed and strength far exceeded the last time William and the Shadow Mage jointly attacked and killed Kizaru. This is a fatal blow that cannot be defended or avoided. Tear. Destroy the ancients. It's just a moment of stalemate. The terrifying magma three-headed dog was ruthlessly destroyed and torn apart. The unparalleled fist seal is entwined with the weapon color and conquerors, carrying unparalleled power. One after another, they hit the bed dog hard, whose pupils were wide open and full of unwillingness and despair. Chapter 239. General's Fall. Aokiji who was attacked and killed. Magma hell, the ice surface is constantly melting. A hysterical roar echoed there. Boom, accompanied by an extremely violent explosion. It was as if the submarine volcano that had been dormant for a long time was completely activated. A large amount of hot red magma spewed out in all directions, flooding the bed. It simply wants to burn everything. No life left. Thick smoke billowed into the air. The entire ice surface completely melted. The seawater was boiling and dyed extremely red. Magma fluid gurgled and bubbled with oozing heat. Sakazuki Admiral. No, how is that possible? Damn it. How could this happen? This moment, the countless Marines who were fighting with the Hell Pirates couldn't help but widen their eyes. Looking at the ice in the distance in disbelief, the pictures and scenes seemed to be frozen directly. Gurgling. I saw the ice that had already collapsed and the water vapor was steaming. A large amount of magma fluid has turned into a small lake, where heat bubbles constantly. In the outer area, a large amount of magma was extinguished by melting seawater and turned into volcanic rock. A tall figure stood there, motionless. However, the chest has been mercilessly blasted through. There are large transparent holes in the front and back. OSOYO. And in midair, a pair of dark demon wings spread out. William looked down at his burned and oozing arm. If you look closely, you will find that the wounds, which reveal thick white bones and some bloody flesh, are in the shape of a palm. It was as if it was caught by a big hand of magma and burned like this. It's just mind-numbing. If it weren't for him, he would already be the most perfect blood factor transformer. It not only has a tough exoskeleton, but also has amazing resilience. It can be said that it is made of copper and iron and is invulnerable. I'm afraid that the entire right hand has been burned to ashes in the first place. A counterattack before death. What a terrifying monster. Tilda. Awe-inspiring gaze. Looking at a Kainu who has lost the breath of life but is still standing. William, who seemed to be without any pain and expressionless, sighed. Under such circumstances, I was still hurt by you. Said. He didn't procrastinate. He took out a bottle of mysterious potion less than the size of his thumb directly from his pocket and opened the lid. 2 drops of crystal clear medicinal liquid slipped down. Pour it into your mouth. Advertisement, Shua. William's whole body shone with holy light. The burned arm was recovering at a speed visible to the naked eye. In the blink of an eye, the injuries on his body had recovered as before. Even part of the physical strength consumed in the previous fierce battle. He also recovered instantly. The fatigue is gone. Damn it, Sakazuki. His eyes were fixed on the unyielding figure. Aokiji, who was fighting Bullet, changed his expression drastically. He clenched his fists tightly and couldn't help but spit fire from his eyes. Hey, don't worry, you'll be here soon. Bullet smiled evilly. Controlling the Iron Giant. Waving his huge iron fist, he entangled Haki. Severely crushing the atmosphere, it blasted over. Don't be too arrogant, pirate. Aokiji's eyes were determined. His face was solemn as never before. Not to be outdone, the whole person jumped up. Both fists were filled with freezing air and covered with ice gloves. Wrapping around the high-level armament Haki, he pumped his fists furiously and blasted out, ice gloves. Boom. A loud bang echoed. 2 unequal fist marks collided there. But that giant steel fist was completely unable to suppress the powerful ice fist seal. The two were in constant stalemate and confrontation there. No one would give in. Woo-hoo-hoo, swoosh. Amazing airwaves. It can't help but sweep and wreak havoc. It makes people unable to open their eyes and look straight. On the sea, the waves were even rougher, tossing and turning. Hey ha ha ha, this is right. Controlling the steel giant Bullet number 9 made of morphological memory alloy, Bullet smiled ferociously. It's not enough, please make me more excited, Aokiji. Observation Haki locked his eyes on Aokiji in front of him. The violent steel fist entangled the powerful Haki. He couldn't help but suppress the atmosphere and waved it out wildly. He seemed to be determined not to give up until the Marine Admiral in front of him was reduced to a pulp. Murderous. Bang. Bang. The cold air surged and loud noises continued. The ice surface shook violently and continued to collapse and crack. The terrifying ice fist seal is also not to be outdone. There he came out with a strong force, with that exaggerated steel fist mark. Advertisement shaking hard. Don't underestimate Marine Admiral pirates. Aokiji looks forward to death, full of unspeakable anger. He studied under Marine Hero, Iron Fist, Garp and has a stern look. Haki punched hard without fear, his fist prints were full of strength, and he blasted towards Bullet, Justice Clash. The strongest fist. Bullet yelled with a ferocious face. Controlling the huge robot, massive Haki surged out. The dark and shiny steel fist marks violently rubbed against the atmosphere. It became extremely red. Go out to meet the attack. The loud noise shook the sky. The terrifying collision caused the ice to collapse. Huge cracks spread all over the place. Strong collision there. Bang. However, what is shocking is that the huge robot was blown away. Bullet yelled unwillingly. Aokiji, Ice Cube Storm Pheasant Mouth. Responded to his. It was Aokiji's murderous voice. A huge ice bird surged out, carrying endless freezing air. He rushed directly towards the steel giant. At this time, murderous intent emerged, and the hair on E's body stood up. Almost in an instant, 2 figures with terrifying auras suddenly appeared. They attacked suddenly from the left and the right. Hell thrust horned blade shadow. Nullies, black and red lightning intertwined. The sharp shadow spear came from the cutting. It seemed as if it was directly invisible, completely unable to be captured by the naked eye, just like thunder and lightning. Aokiji, who had just taken advantage of the victory and wanted to freeze the Devil's Descendant, Douglas Bullet in one breath, had just lost his old strength and had not yet regained his new strength. His face turned pale, and he had no time to dodge. The sharp cold light was extremely fast. It's almost time to reach ultimate. Endless murderous intent. Kyla blood splattered. Aokiji's chest was directly penetrated from front to back. It was as if the trajectory of his dodge had been predicted in advance. Even this Admiral of Headquarters is very likely to dodge in advance. But he was still severely beaten mercilessly. Wow, Aokiji's eyes widened and he vomited blood. With both hands, he panicked and grasped the 2 big hands that wanted to penetrate his chest. The astonishing freezing air surged out directly, freezing them at a speed visible to the naked eye. He stared at the transparent figure that gradually appeared in front of him, Black Prison William. Chapter 240, The Defeated Marine, The Decisive Kizaru. Kuzan Admiral, a horrifying scene. It shocked countless Marines. There was hysterical shouting. He stared blankly at the cyan figure whose chest was penetrated and vomiting blood. Even Momoshiki and the T-Dolphin, who were being hunted and covered in blood, couldn't help but widen their eyes with disbelief. Full of grief and anger, eyes blazing with fire. Whoosh, a dazzling light burst out suddenly. The fast laser beam was blown away by the dark bat umbrella. Boom. The violent explosion directly flattened the mountains in the distance to the ground. Kang. The sound of gold and iron clashing is incomparable. The extremely sharp lightsaber collided with the bat umbrella. Kizaru, who was having a fierce confrontation with the Red Earl, couldn't help but become a little silent. My heart sank to the bottom. Kuzan. That guy's methods are really ruthless. Watch this scene. The Red Earl chuckled lightly. His eyes were full of ridicule, and he sneered at Kizaru in front of him. It seems that this time you Marine completely miscalculated. He could imagine. When the news that the entire Buster Call fleet was wiped out came back, 960 Naval Headquarters Marshal Buddha Sengoku and even the World Government Army Commander-in-Chief Kong Kong and other World Government senior officials, how angry and regretful are they? I have to say that Hell William is too cruel. 30,000 Marine elites, 3 admirals representing the highest combat power of Naval Headquarters, 10 Naval Headquarters including 2 admiral candidates. At this time, Marine will not be able to recover easily for 10 years or even longer. If it doesn't work well, it may be a disaster, once word spreads. I am afraid that unimaginable storms and turmoil are about to occur in this sea. In fact, the level of badness is not inferior to that at the beginning of the Great Pirates era, and may even be more chaotic. Brush. Brush. On the ice. In an instant, a black shadow flashed. The 2 figures disappeared from the spot. Aokiji was left alone, standing there alone. On the chest, there were 2 big bloody holes, one on the left and one on the right. Shocking. Goodbye, Aokiji, 10 meters away, looking at Aokiji covered in blood. William's eyes were cold and he spoke calmly. The right arm, which was mostly frozen and covered with frost, burst out with blazing flames. The frost covering it evaporated ruthlessly in an instant. Advertisement recover as before. Let Lousy give you a ride, Aokiji. At this time, Bullet smiled directly. The tall figure broke away from the completely frozen steel giant. There he ran out at an astonishing speed. The huge fist seal overwhelmed the atmosphere. Hit Aokiji hard. Ice wall, the cold air surge. A huge ice wall lies across there, blocked Bullet's powerful blow. Boom. There was a loud bang. The extremely thick ice wall was directly blasted through. But Aokiji, who was covered in blood, had determination in his eyes. He ran towards William. Brush. Swipe. William's face was expressionless and he stamped his foot suddenly. Silk-like black shadow surged out, directly submerging Aokiji's entire body. Just passed directly through the shadow world and shuttled over. He had already summoned Wapple, and asked it to use the Munch Munch fruit ability to recover Yan's corpse. Whether it is Akainu's Logia Lava fruit or Aokiji's Logia frozen fruit, they are both among the top abilities in this sea. Naturally, William would not miss it easily. The terrifying cold air kept spewing out. Aokiji, who was dying, was struggling to his death, unwilling to be easily captured. However, the terrifying black shadows kept coming in a steady stream. The extremely sharp shadow spears directly entangled the powerful hockey. It stabs out like a vine. Kai. C. Crushed and penetrated the ice mercilessly. Completely cut off its vitality. Blood couldn't help but overflow, dyeing the ice red. Hey, it's been defeated, Hanan. Cross your arms. Bullet bared his teeth and smiled strangely. However, the eyes looking at William were full of blazing fighting spirit. At the same time, there are some unspeakable fears. This young monster is indeed incredibly powerful. He actually managed to get rid of Akainu, the Marine Admiral, so quickly. Moreover, he attacked and killed Aokiji in the blink of an eye. Although, it was mainly him who contained the other party. But there is no doubt about Hell William's strength. Advertisement, it's really scary. Well, the next step is to finish. William looked directly in the direction of Punk Hazard. Ignoring the 2 admiral candidates, Momoshiki and the Owl, who were surrounded by Brandy World and those zombie kings. Because the 2 of them are already trapped in an urn and are destined to be unable to escape. Brush. Brush, in an instant, him and his shadow clone. It disappeared in an instant. Brush, however. William just showed up on Punk Hazard, light explosion. Without warning, without any hesitation, Kizaru looked hard. The whole person suddenly burst out with a dazzling light and glow, which was extremely eye-catching. It's completely impossible to look straight at. What? A strong sense of crisis. The Red Earl who was fighting with him changed his color in shock. Without hesitation, his figure retreated like lightning. Rumble, a huge explosion appeared there. Exaggerated mushroom clouds soared into the sky. The whole island was roaring violently, shaking. Woo-hoo-hoo. Swoosh. Astonishing strong winds kept sweeping and raging. There were huge waves on the sea. The waves are rolling. Is it this move again? So decisive? Saw this scene? William's expression remained unchanged and he shrugged. This is also the reason why he didn't hunt Kizaru in the first place. This monkey is so slippery. in order to prevent Aokiji, a Logia frozen fruit user, from slipping away. After getting rid of Akainu, he decisively targeted Admiral Aokiji. After all, who knows whether this Marine Admiral, who is usually very generous to his subordinates, will resolutely leave those Marines behind and run away for the sake of Marine's future? Aokiji is hard to say. At the very least, Kizaru has an ambiguous and unpredictable personality. It's not that he is greedy for life and afraid of death, but this guy can definitely do such a thing. Like now. Knowing that no one can be saved, if you continue to stay, your entire army will be annihilated. He decisively self-destructed, took the opportunity to leave the battlefield, and left with Chapter 241 shocking news. Sengoku vomited blood, 4th update. In the sky above the smoky island, a large number of bats kept flapping their wings and gathered together. The figure of the Red Earl appeared directly there. The whole person looked a little embarrassed, unscathed. At the critical moment, did you not hesitate to blow yourself up and escape? The huge fleshy wings flapped gently. The Red Earl was like this, stuck in the sky. Looking at the golden light that disappeared in the sky, he turned to William and said calmly, "It seems that your goal of annihilating all these Marines will not be achieved." Looking at this ridiculously young figure, his eyes were filled with sadness. In the hundreds of years since Marine was founded, no one has ever been able to accomplish such a feat. It almost completely wiped out all of Marine's high-end combat power, making Marine Yuanchi the polished commander. That is to say, Marine, under pressure from the world government, is eager to destroy the Hell Pirates who have not yet established a foothold in the New World. Instead, he was able to preserve part of his strength by accident. Otherwise, if 50,000 or even more elite Marines are dispatched, the losses will only be greater. This former overlord of the sea. I am afraid that my vitality will be completely damaged and I will be unable to recover. After all, Marine has dispatched 3 Marine Admirals and 2 Admiral candidates. In terms of high-end combat power, it is obviously impossible to continue to increase it. No matter how many bottom-level combat forces there are, they can't offset the Hell Pirates' advantage. In particular, those giant zombie legions have never really been dispatched. Watching the direction in which Kizaru was escaping, William crossed his arms and said nonchalantly, "After this battle, the wave of the new era is destined to arrive early. Amir Kizaru can no longer stop Marine from becoming prosperous and declining. If the world government doesn't take action personally, no one can stop the rise of the Hell Pirates." Looking towards the ice, faced with the siege of special zombies and Burndy World and others, Chimai and Momosagi, who are struggling to survive, are 2 Admiral candidates. There are also those warships, large and small, scattered on the sea, still fighting constantly, but the Hell Pirates seem to have the absolute upper hand. He couldn't help but smile. Although it failed to achieve full success, the results were already great enough. This time the operation went much smoother than he imagined. Marine's title of Overlord of the Sea will exist in name only. I have completed what I promised you. In the human animal form, the ferocious-looking Red Earl Rider stretched out his right hand and said indifferently, "Then, is it time for my heart to be returned?" Advertisement, that's not possible, the battle is not over yet. William was smiling. He looked at the 2 Admiral candidates, Momosagi and Ogado, who were still resisting and unwilling to be captured, and said, "After you help me catch those 2 guys, I will give you your heart directly. After all, I have sacrificed a precious Phantom Beast ability. If you don't do anything, wouldn't it be a big loss for me?" Although he had plenty of physical strength, he was still able to continue fighting. However, we have to be on guard against these unruly guys. Moreover, if you can let others take action, why do you have to do it yourself? What a cautious guy. Red Earl Rider took a deep look at William. The figure was like electricity, and instantly turned into a red afterimage. At an alarming speed, it flew towards the T-Dolphin that was fighting in the distance with Burndy World. Dark Storm. Almost as soon as I arrived, he had already taken action decisively and sharply. Kai. The bat umbrella in his hand was waved out boldly. A black spiral slash swept out directly. He blasted towards the T-Dolphin, which changed color in horror. Go back in time a little. Naval Headquarters, Marineford. In the Marshal's office. But at this moment, 2 people, Sengoku and Vice Admiral, are always paying attention to the battle situation on the front line. Their faces were a bit unattractive, because, not long ago, news came from the front line. Before the war even started, the Buster Call fleet had already suffered heavy losses. First, the Hell Pirates used Lion Fruit's ability to smash the island from an altitude of tens of thousands of meters under the cover of the extremely harsh thunderstorm weather, directly losing a quarter of their warships and troops. Then he rushed directly to Dressrosa and was surrounded by the Hell Pirates. Before they could fire, they were hit by a large number of laser weapons, and they were caught off guard and suffered heavy losses. Immediately afterwards, another black shadow monster and zombie army rushed out of the cabin and other corners through unknown means, killing Marine by surprise and causing heavy losses. World Destroyer, Burndy World, the Devil's Descendant, Douglas Bullet, Red Earl, Baloric Redfield. These 3 notorious pirates who were imprisoned in eternal hell have formed an alliance with William of Hell. These guys have taken action to hold back the Admiral candidate T-Dolphin, Admiral Aokiji Admiral Kizaru and other strong men. It was completely beyond Marine's expectations, and for some reason he was imprisoned in a deep-sea prison for more than 10 or 20 years. He should have been tortured until his strength declined significantly. But all of them are in excellent condition, and their combat power is almost as good as that at their peak. Even Red Earl Redfield, who should have been very young, is said to have returned to his youthful state. ********. In addition, Hell William also created other special zombies with the same strength as the Golden Lion, completely suppressing Tavon, the Admiral supplement. Advertisement. Even Admiral Akainu, who is currently fighting against Hell William, is at a slight disadvantage. Damn, how careless. Buddha Sengoku's face was ashen. He slammed it on the desk in front of him, gritted his teeth and said, I didn't expect that despite all calculations, there was still a single mistake. No one expected that William of Hell would actually have such a trump card. Not only did he create a shadow monster that was different from the zombie army, he was also able to transport a large number of troops directly to the warship. It was completely unexpected and completely disintegrate our advantages. Crane Vice Admiral had a worried look on his face, and said quietly, Now, we have immediately sent the Blood Vulture to take Garp and Zephyr to the battlefield to support them. Hopefully, it's not too late. Blood Vulture, Naval Headquarters Vice Admiral, Bird Fruit Vulture Form Ability User. As soon as he learned that the battle situation on the front line was unfavorable, Buddha Sengoku had already asked the opponent to use his flying ability to take Garp, the Marine hero, and Black Arm Lofa, the former Marine Admiral, to the battlefield. Make sure nothing goes wrong, it can be said, so far. Except for Buddha Sengoku, the Marine Marshal did not dispatch. Almost all the high-end combat power the Marine can send out has been sent out. And the battlefield is too far away, beyond reach. There was no time to continue reinforcements. Bulu tilde 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 bolo tilde tilde tilde. I am Buddha Sengoku. How is the situation? The phone bug was answered immediately. Sengoku looked solemn and asked in a deep voice. Vice Admiral Crane was also listening there, but he was a little worried. Because, there were previous reports that the lifeguards of Naval Headquarters Vice Admirals such as Flying Squirrel, Ghost Spider, Geisha, etc. were burned out one after another and turned into ashes. It can be said that the situation is not good. Marshal Sengoku, it's not good. A panicked voice came from the phone. Sakazuki Admiral, Sakazuki Admiral. Sakazuki? What happened to him? Hearing this, Sengoku and Crane Vice Admiral, they all couldn't help but their hearts beat violently, and they felt intense uneasiness. His life card was burned to ashes. What? Sengoku and Crane Vice Admiral's expressions changed drastically. Damn, how could this happen? Buddha's Sengoku, Marshal Marine, was shaking and his face was red. The next moment, his whole throat felt sweet. A mouthful of blood spurted out directly. Hell William. Chapter 242. The Captured Admiral Candidate, the End. Fire Punch. On the chaotic battlefield. On a warship, the ghost man Akin was covered in flames. He jumped up high, turned into a fist seal of flames, and blasted out boldly. Boom boom. The huge cabin was directly blasted through ruthlessly. A Marine was submerged in the fire and screamed in agony. A fire lit up the sky, on another warship a few kilometers away. The electric light shines and the sea of wealth screams. His whole body was burnt black from the electric shock, and he fell there. Damn pirates. Naval Headquarters Vice Admiral, the Chaser, Menacin roared angrily. He stamped his feet fiercely, swung the blade wrapped around Haki, and charged forward. But in an instant, Wappa had turned into lightning. Disappeared in front of him. God's judgment, T equals, in a blink of an eye. Wappa suddenly appeared 10 meters away. The right hand that was suddenly raised was aimed directly at Menelin. Wah wah GG. The wrist that was thrown out turned into a huge thunderpillar, releasing a powerful electric current. It's so dazzling that people can't look straight at it. Coming with a fierce blast, Menacin's figure was electric. Relying on observation Haki's prediction, he stepped hard and turned his whole person into an afterimage. Shenxuan dodged this terrible blow. Boom boom. The huge mast, together with the cabin, was directly blasted through ruthlessly. A Marine was directly affected by the flowing current, and there was something wrong. His whole body was scorched black by the electric shock, and he fell there, not knowing whether he was alive or dead. This monster. This horrifying scene made Wa Nathan feel chilly. I have to admit that Logia Thunderfruit's ability user is really difficult to deal with. But that's it, he didn't have time to breathe a sigh of relief. A hand was already on his body like lightning, 100 million volts discharge. Wah wah GG, KG KG KG, screen switching, advertisement. At this moment, on another large warship, a large number of ghost soldiers, zombie soldiers and those Marines are constantly fighting. Yuahuhu. Suddenly, an invisible hurricane struck. A dozen Marines were screaming there. The body was torn apart by invisible sharp blades. He fell directly into a pool of blood. Asterisk hole. Don't even think about doing whatever you want. A cold light flashed. A swift figure rushed towards him. Holding the blade and wrapping around Haki, the wolf attacks. But it was blocked by extremely sharp, sickle-like claws. Hey. Beiji Crow, who transformed into a sickle and a weasel and entered the human animal form, looked ferocious. Looking directly at the Naval Headquarters Vice Admiral in front of him, he licked his lips and smiled. Marine, your good days are over. Stop being so proud, pirate. The Mozambian Vice Admiral gritted his teeth. Witnessing the heroic sacrifices of two admirals, Akainu and Aokiji, one after another, their faces were full of grief, anger and determination. However, in terms of strength, he belongs to the bottom among the Naval Headquarters Vice Admiral. Nothing can be changed at all. Sparks sputter. He kept waving his blade and slashing wildly, but they were all easily blocked by Beiji Crow with ease. Storm Dance. Crow suddenly retreated. A hurricane was raised that could not be seen with the naked eye. The sickle-like claws were swung out like electricity. Yuahuhu. Det. Featuring, the dense wind blades intertwined into a huge hurricane. The Marines swept forward and rolled towards Mozambia. Kilogram. Og. One Marine had no time to dodge. The body was torn apart mercilessly and turned into blood mist. Mozambique's Naval Headquarters Vice Admiral was unable to dodge. The body was torn with shockingly large holes, drenched with blood. Brush. A hurricane is coming. The swift figure rushed towards him. The sharp claws wrapped around the half-baked hockey. Advertisement comes through. Mozambique's pupils suddenly dilated. He looked down at his chest that had been pierced by sharp claws, vomiting blood from his mouth. Plunged into endless darkness. By now, and at the same time. On the ice ahead, as expected, the entrance of Red Earl Lied was restricted. Momoshagi and Chado, the two admiral candidates who put up a stubborn fight, were quickly hit hard. After losing his combat effectiveness, he was directly locked with seastone handcuffs by the zombie army. Damn pirate. Momoshagi, who was covered in blood and disheveled, was locked by the high-purity seastone. He was weak and struggled hard. Let me go. Give up, Gion-chan. We lose. The bloody and extremely miserable T-Dolphin on the side has long lost its original high spirits. His hands and feet were handcuffed with sea stones, and he smiled bitterly. Hell, William. Momoshagi gritted his teeth. His eyes were red with strong unwillingness. William stared fiercely ahead, full of unspeakable anger. Witnessing the two admirals Akainu and Aokiji being killed by each other, the admiral candidate felt extremely sad and angry. La tilde, Momoshagi Vice Admiral, when we meet old friends, don't look at me with such a scary look. William smiled and lightly slapped the other person's cheek. It's easy for women to get angry. He's getting older. IEGER. Momoshagi, who was cursing loudly, suddenly thought of something. He couldn't help but shrink his pupils and looked at William in disbelief. Are you the Gale swordsman? She didn't expect that the other party turned out to be Yasuo, the swordsman with whom she had a brief encounter. I didn't expect you to still remember me. What an honor. William smiled slightly. He said that, but he didn't show any mercy. Soon, under his instruction, these two admirals were waiting for 1.5 supplements, and they were directly torn into pieces by Luo using the ability of Op Fruit. Desaya then used the ability of the card fruit to seal those limbs into different cards and lock them into Capone Bega's internal castle. And with these two admiral candidates defeated, the 7 zombie kings who had their hands free joined the battle on those warships. Due to the sacrifices of Admiral Akainu, Admiral Aokiji and others, their morale had plummeted, and they were already at a disadvantage. The precarious marine could no longer resist. Thousands of marines were captured. In addition, about 30 warships of various sizes were captured directly. Although some parts were seriously damaged due to the fierce battle, the keel and other important structures were not damaged and can be directly repaired and renovated for use by the Hell Pirates. This battle is destined to shock the entire world and cause a huge storm. The curtain has truly come to an end. Chapter 243. Raising troops to prosecute. Explosive Sengoku. Mr. Sengoku in unknown waters. The dazzling golden light flew towards the sky. I'm very sorry, we lost, Kazaru, who was pale and weak, said bitterly. If nothing else, Momoshagi, the T-Dolphin and the others should have. Perusalino, it's not your fault. I just received the news that the two of them were defeated and captured. The other end of the phone bug. Naval headquarters far ahead of the Grand Line. In the marshal's office, Buddha Sengoku no longer had the high spirits of the past, clenching his fists tightly. The whole person looked pale, and the inexperienced Luo sat on the ground. He smiled miserably and said, if you can evacuate decisively, it is the best choice. It saves the last bit of face for Marine. At least there is no real annihilation of the entire army. It was my decision-making mistake as Marshal Marine that underestimated the Hell Pirates. I will bear full responsibility. Vice Admiral, the crane on the side, sighed softly. It was also rare that he did not open his mouth to persuade, but remained silent. Because she knew it was the best outcome. With such a huge loss, Marine suffered an unprecedented loss, and it can even be said to have suffered a heavy loss. 10 Naval Headquarters Vice Admiral, Rear Admiral, Commodore, and Colonel officers, including 2 generals, 2 admiral candidates, and countless officers. Someone has to take responsibility. Marshal Sengoku, the Marine, is naturally the first to bear the brunt and is bound to step down. If the world government becomes more overbearing and is determined to pursue the case, I am afraid that it will have to go to a military court. But with the current situation of Marine, I believe that the top leaders of the world government would not dare to come. At most, Marshal Sengoku, the Marine, would resign. As a Marine hero, Iron Fist Garp, who had refused to be promoted to Marine Admiral several times, suffered an unprecedented blow when his wife and children were killed by pirates. He had already voluntarily resigned from the admiral position, retired to the second line and became an instructor, dedicated to cultivating new people. It is obviously impossible for Black Arm and Zephyr to take over this position. Kizaru is the best candidate, even if he is the Marine Admiral who suffered a defeat. But regardless of prestige or qualifications, the only person currently qualified to take over this position is Marine. Unless the world government is prepared to let Marshal Kong, who has been promoted to Commander-in-Chief of the entire army, take over the position of Marshal Marine again. Or, he is determined to parachute a new Marine Marshal over to try to rectify Marine. However, the former is easier to say. Advertisement. If it's the latter, you'll be in little trouble. Those Marine generals and officers who have worked their way up from the bottom. There are bound to be great opinions, it could cause huge turmoil. Perusalino. Next, Marine will be left to you. With a hoarse voice, he spoke to the phone. Sengoku, the Marine Marshal, seemed to have aged 10 years in an instant. He was already gray-haired, but he relied on baking oil to maintain his black hair, trying his best to make himself look younger and more dignified. At this moment, he showed his age. It was as if his energy had been drained out, and his whole person was full of dejection. Mr. Sengoku, far away in the new world, Perusalino, who was rushing back, suddenly stopped. His eyes widened and he was somewhat speechless. Huh? That's... Suddenly, his eyes narrowed. I caught a glimpse of a huge vulture, flapping its wings in the direction of Dressrosa at an alarming speed. I noticed the two figures above. They were the hero Garp and the black-lunged Zephyr. Bulu tilde 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 bolo tilde tilde tilde, now inside the Marshal's office at Naval Headquarters. Buddha Sengoku just hung up the communication with Kizaru. The phone bug on the side suddenly opened its eyes and made a rabid sound. Hey, here comes the one who wants to investigate. Glancing at the color of the phone bug, Sengoku laughed at himself at the Crane Vice Admiral next to him. No procrastination. He took a deep breath, he grabbed the microphone and said in a hoarse voice, I am Sengoku of Buddha. Sengoku, you Marine. An angry voice just came from the phone bug. He was interrupted mercilessly by the angry Buddha Sengoku. Your Excellency 5 Elders, are you satisfied now? Sengoku, what do you mean? You Marines are incompetent, leading to defeat and heavy losses, and you blame us instead, right? Advertisement. 10 Naval Headquarters Vice Admirals including 2 Admirals of Headquarters and 2 Admiral Alternates. Such a loss is ridiculous no matter how I look at it. The face of the world government has been completely lost by you Marine. Once Marine is defeated, and the news spreads across the sea that the entire army, including the 2 admirals who represent the highest combat power of the naval headquarters, will be annihilated, do you know what the consequences will be? The other end of the phone bug, 5 elders who just got the message. Obviously a little angry and frustrated. In fact, if CP hadn't repeatedly confirmed that it was correct, they couldn't believe such a battle report and thought they and others had heard it wrong. What do I mean? Buddha Sengoku's eyes burst into flames. The whole person was also full of anger, and he responded tit for tat. I don't deny that for such a big mistake. First, the Marine Marshal cannot escape the blame, but doesn't the world government have the least bit of blame? What does CP do for food? Why has the Hell Pirates developed to this extent quietly, and you haven't received any useful information at all? I was already mentally prepared to step down. All this time, Marshal Marine himself had been feeling extremely aggrieved because of the constraints imposed by the top leaders of the world government, but he no longer wanted to succumb to these arrogant and bossy bosses. Without hesitation, 393 fired directly. Marine has not yet made sufficient preparations, and has not even investigated the Hell Pirates' information clearly. You just rushed out the order in a hurry, blindly ordering Marine to attack the Hell Pirates. The group launches a buster call. Who would have thought that 3 admirals, plus 2 admiral candidates, several naval headquarters vice admirals, plus 30,000 marine elites, a fleet of 80 warships, all fell short and suffered an unprecedented defeat? Why, you are eager to blame me now and come to accuse me, the Marine Marshal, right? Speaking of which, Buddha Sengoku clenched his fists. His eyebrows were raised and his face was full of anger. He completely let go of his scruples, and for the first time in decades after joining Marine, he confronted the 5 elders who controlled the highest power of the world government, and responded loudly. Then I can tell you the answer now, I am the Sengoku of the Buddha. I am willing to take full responsibility for the defeat and resign. If you 5 elders still want to blame me and send me to a military court for trial, then you can do whatever you want. Click. The words just fell. He hung up the phone directly. On the other end of the phone, the 5 elders in Marijoy, the Holy Land, looked at each other in shock. He was stunned for a moment. Immediately, it became extremely fierce. He slapped the table hard, a little angry. What a Buddha, Sengoku, you are so outrageous. Chapter 244. Exciting big news Morgans, 4 emperors? Quick, cheer me up, that afternoon, in unknown waters. World Economic News Headquarters. A large, albatross, wearing a suit and tie stood there, directing the busy newspaper staff. Grabbing the photo faxed from Dressrosa, he grinned and shouted excitedly. This is unprecedented big news, it is destined to detonate the entire sea. Astonishingly, it is Morgans, the president of the World Economic News Agency, the king of the dark world and the big news, on the 10th. Gulu. It's really unbelievable. An editor looked at the photos he had just copied, swallowed his saliva, and said in disbelief. Is Marine so vulnerable? The contents of these photos are actually the corpses of 2 Marine admirals, Akainu and Aokiji, as well as the scenes of captured generals such as Momoshage and Cha-Do wearing shackles. If word spreads out, the whole sea will be shaken. Yahahaha, who would have thought? Big news. Morgans grinned his beak and said with a strange smile. 3 admirals came out, plus 2 admiral candidates, 10 naval headquarters vice admirals, leading 30,000 elites, and 80 ships of various sizes. Warship, launch a buster call against the Hell Pirates. As a result, Marine was formed for the first time in more than 10 years, and the large fleet that went on an expedition to the New World was nearly wiped out. He took a deep breath, suppressed the excitement in his heart, and sighed with emotion. Among the 3 admirals, 2 admirals, Akainu and Aokiji, fell. Kizaru retreated and fled when he saw that the situation was not good. More than 5,000 Marines were captured. There are also several naval headquarters vice admirals, and even 2 admiral candidates, Momoshage and Cha-Do, are among them. He could totally imagine it. What a sensation tomorrow's news will cause. The entire sea is probably going to experience unprecedented turmoil again. Since the beginning of the Great Pirate Age, Marine has tried its best to suppress the pirates who are constantly breeding and causing chaos everywhere, and stabilize the situation in the sea. All efforts will be completely in vain. All the efforts are made in vain. It's unbelievable. Backquote. I didn't expect the Hell Pirates to be so powerful. Advertisement. Hell William is already qualified to challenge monsters like Whitebeard, Big Mom, and Kaido. With this issue of the newspaper, our World Economic and Social News Agency is destined to break the previous sales record again. Reporters and editors present at Shishi Economic News. You said something to me, and there was a lot of discussion, and everyone was a little shocked and inexplicable. Without him, this news is really shocking, it's unbelievable. As if in a dream. Cheer up, everyone, I will personally handle the title content of this issue. Looking around at the WES employees present, Big News Morgan spread his wings there and said excitedly, in accordance with the requirements of the Hell Pirates, Black Prison, Obask William, Whitebeard, Edward Newgate, Big Hyphenation Point Mom, Charlotte, the 3 great pirates Lin and 100 Beasts, Kaido together, are listed as the 4 emperors of the New World. Yahahaha, the 4 pirate emperors who rule this sea like emperors. 4 emperors, their ideas coincide with mine. Speaking of which, the president of the World Economic News, who is good at manipulating intelligence and public opinion, has eyes shining with expectation. He had already vaguely had this idea, and wanted to formally propose the slogan, 4 emperors, in the World Economic News after the Red Hair Pirates and Ochaku Pirates decided the winner. Unexpectedly, the Hell Pirates also had such an idea. Morgans can't wait to witness the coronation of the 4 emperors. What about Ochaku? Speaking of which, he is also a great pirate who is famous throughout the sea. How about we rank them together as Wooly? Ochaku? That guy's courage is still a little bit behind. Morgans was full of disdain and sarcastically said, at best, he can only be regarded as a local bully who lives in a corner. Sooner or later he will be submerged by the tide of the times, and he cannot deserve the title of Pirate Emperor. The era of pirates ranking based on their seniority has long passed. Now is the era of strength speaking. This time, he is preparing to guide the public opinion of Dahai. Trying to create a 4 emperors pattern, we cannot make up for it. President Morgans, you were previously optimistic about the Red Hair Pirates, who are in conflict with the Ochaku Pirates. Do you want to wait a little longer? Advertisement. A WSE member raised his hand and asked. Nothing else, because the president of Morgans has told them more than once that he is very optimistic about Red Hair Pirates. Red-haired Shanks. No way, who gave him bad luck? Big news, Morgans lamented. After this battle, Marine's former reputation as the overlord of the sea will no longer exist. Hell William's power seems to be comparable to that of Whitebeard, and he has become the new uncrowned king. I just don't know how many of the prisoners he took away from Impel Down, the deep sea prison. After all, even Whitebeard, the world's strongest man. I dare not say that I can still win against a battle like Marines. Those are the 3 admirals who represent the highest combat power of the naval headquarters. There are also 10 vice admirals of the naval headquarters including 2 admiral candidates. There are more than 30,000 marine elites and 80 warships of various sizes. Although the Whitebeard Pirates group has a large number of people, there are more than 30 pirate groups of various sizes under its banner, and its strength can be said to be very strong. But in Morgan's view, the outcome is hard to say. No matter how you look at it, Marine has a better chance of winning. This is still considering that the Hell Pirates may have cooperated with the imprisoned monsters in Impel Down to accomplish such an unprecedented feat and achieve such results. Therefore, he felt that William of Hell was juxtaposed with Whitebeard, the legendary Great Poseidon. It's not like Qian Zhao was belittling the other party. Next, the Hell Pirates are bound to expand massively, and I'm afraid he won't give the Red Hair Pirates a chance to rise. Staring at Hell William's reward list, looking at that figure who is too young, but cannot be underestimated. Morgans pondered for a moment and pushed there. You mean, Ochaku is going to be targeted by the Hell Pirates? The employees of the World Economic Society present could not help but shrink their pupils, and they were a little shocked. Then wouldn't they possibly have a conflict with the red-hair pirates? Who knows? Yeah, ha ha ha. Morgans shrugged. He grinned and said, the wave of the new era has arrived, and those rotten old ships are destined to be overturned. Black Prison, Obask William. This young monster, his future is really more and more exciting. Chapter 245. The world was shocked and the whole world was in an uproar. Open black lens bracket shocking. The birth of 4 emperors. Close black lens bracket, the rout of justice, 30,000 elite marines were wiped out. Battle in the offshore of Dressrosa, Buster Call Fleet vs Hell Pirates. Shocked. The destroyed Buster Call, Hell William led the Hell Pirates to defeat the Marine fleet head-on, too. Condolence. The flower of Admiral has withered, and the 2 Marine admirals, Akainu and Aokiji, unfortunately died heroically. The decline of the Overlord of the Sea, the true era of great pirates has arrived. Take stock of the 4 pirate emperors who are like emperors, approaching the sea. Open black lens bracket 4 emperors, Whitebeard, Big Mom, 100 Beasts, Black Prison. The 4 great pirates who have both strength and power, and rule the new world, close black lens bracket. The birth of the new uncrowned king, the captain of the Hell Pirates, Black Hell William. Marine Marshal Buddha Sengoku resigned, former Marine Marshal World Government Army Commander Kong Kong returned, temporarily acting as Marine Marshal. World Government held a press conference to announce that justice will never compromise with evil and will continue to form an expedition fleet to defeat the Hell Pirates. Commander-in-Chief of the World Government Army, Kong Kong. I express my deep condolences to the Marine soldiers who unfortunately died this time. Justice will never give up, and Marine will never back down and will fight the evil pirates to the end, close black lens bracket. The birth of 5 billion pirates, the most vicious in history, the youngest pirate William from Hell. The worst in history. The world government declares that Hell William is the most evil, insidious, despicable, and shameless traitor and conspirator. The next day, 3 days early, countless newsbirds flew to all parts of the world carrying large quantities of brand new newspapers that smelled like ink and were printed overnight. As the news spreads, the sea was in an uproar and the world was shaken. Oh my god, is this real? Gulu, did I read that correctly? How is this possible? Marine failed. Marine's Buster Call was actually destroyed. The 3 admirals representing the highest combat power of the naval headquarters, plus the 10 vice admirals of the naval headquarters including 2 admiral candidates, and 30,000 marine elites, 80 femmes of various sizes. You actually lost such a battle? Are you kidding me? Advertisement, incredible, the Hell Pirates were able to defeat the fleet led by Marine 3 Admiral? No, I don't believe it at all. That represents the highest combat power of the naval headquarters. He has overwhelming strength and is called a monster. It's unbelievable that the famous Akainu Admiral, who had a series of titles such as Iron-Blooded, Tough Guy, and Hardliner, within Marine, actually died? Sefe. And that Aokiji Admiral, the Marine Admiral who had a high reputation among the people and was very popular and respected by the people, he actually died. Hiss. Marines suffered such heavy losses, even 2 Marine Admirals were killed, and 2 Admiral candidates were captured. This is the first time in history, right? Is that Black Prison William so powerful? The Hell Pirates are really chilling. Lord Almighty, what on earth is going on? Marine, as the Overlord of the Sea, was defeated. Where will this terrible world go? All the forces, big and small, were alarmed. My jaw dropped in shock and I couldn't believe my eyes. Countless people were horrified, and there were heated discussions, full of fear and uneasiness. No one expected that Marine, known as the Overlord of the Sea, would suffer an unprecedented defeat. Led by 3 admirals of headquarters, 10 naval headquarters vice admirals, 30,000 elite marines, and a Buster Call fleet composed of 80 warships. It can be said that the entire army was wiped out, and even 2 admirals were lost. Only 1 Admiral Kizaru retreated decisively when the situation was bad and escaped from Dressrosa. It's really unbelievable. Has the strength of the Hell Pirates reached this level? Or is it that Marine, which once boasted that it was the Overlord of the Sea, has declined to this extent? First, the Marine hero, Iron Fist, Garp, who was constantly touted by Marine and the world government and had almost become a deity, was severely wounded by Hell William. Now, even Marine's all-conquering Buster Call fleet has been destroyed by the Hell Pirates led by Hell William. 2 admirals of headquarters were sacrificed, and even their entire fleet was annihilated. There were also 2 vice admirals of the naval headquarters, including 2 admiral candidates, and thousands of Marine elites were captured. It's unimaginable. It can be said that the current Marine has suffered heavy losses and its vitality is severely damaged. Advertisement: we lost 2 admirals who represented the highest combat power of naval headquarters, 10 naval headquarters vice admirals, and tens of thousands of Marine elites. Are they still capable of maintaining order and peace in the sea? 4 emperors. 4 pirate emperors who rule the new world like emperors. Whitebeard, Big Mom, Kaido, plus Black Hell William, who just broke into the new world and defeated Marine's Buster Call, rising like a tornado. These four can indeed be said to be notorious and well-deserved great pirates. Yes, if they are collectively called the Four Emperors, they are indeed qualified and undisputed. The Whitebeard Pirates, the Big Mom Pirates, the Beasts Pirates, the Hell Pirates. If these four forces unite, not even the Marines can resist it, right? The bounty of 5 billion Baileys is incredible. I remember that Hell William is not even 18 years old, right? Except for Roger, the Pirate King who was publicly executed in the past, this kind of bounty can be said to be second only to the legendary Wood Poseidon by Beard. Yes, since Whitebeard's bounty officially exceeded 5 billion Baileys 10 years ago, his bounty has not changed for many years. Did Marine Marshal Buddha Sengoku resign? I didn't expect that the previous Marine Marshal Kong Kong would come back. What's the use of coming out at this time for an old guy who's already half buried in the ground? Indeed, if I remember correctly, he was already Marshal of the Naval Headquarters more than 30 years ago, right? Although Marshal Kong Kong has a high prestige, he must be quite old. Those guys from Marine, are there no one available? Buddha Sengoku, that guy deserves a damn. He was greedy for power and rushed forward, causing the Marine elite to be wiped out in one fell swoop. It's unimaginable if the pirates in New World united. Can Marine and world government really be able to stop them? At the same time, in addition to shouting at Buddha Sengoku, the Marine Marshal who was pushed out by the world government to take the blame, he was too incompetent and greedy for credit, causing Marine to suffer heavy losses and lose a good situation. Many people have paid attention to the title, Four Emperors, proposed for the first time on the headline of the World Economic News, which is a bit surprising. At the same time, I feel deeply panicked and uneasy about the snowballing forces under the four pirate emperors listed above, Whitebeard, Hell William, Big Mom, and Kaido. One Hell pirate group almost wiped out Marine's entire army. If these four pirate emperors put aside their prejudices and truly unite, 014005424 Filu 123,520,540. Can Marine, whose energy has been severely damaged and is like a paper tiger, and the world government behind him, be able to withstand it? Chapter 246. Surexia Attack? Pero's Concerns? Hey, is it true? The second half of New World in the Unknown Sea. Like the stars holding the moon, it was guarded by several fleet ships in the center, atop the Moby D*K slowly moving forward on the sea. Phoenix Marco yawned and casually took the newspaper he had just ordered from the newsbird that was brought up by his subordinates. However, after taking a glance, his eyes suddenly widened. Cold sweat broke out immediately. He wiped his eyes again and again. He read the newspaper word for word and read it seriously. Finally, I stared blankly at the jaw-dropping bounty list with a bounty of 5 billion Baileys tucked inside the newspaper, and the handsome figure who was too young. The whole person swallowed. Some couldn't believe it. Dad, Marco ran directly towards the bow of the ship. But he soon discovered to his surprise that it was not just him who had received the news at this moment. The other division captains around, as well as some members of the Whitebeard Pirate Group's divisions, were all gathered there, holding a newspaper in their hands. I couldn't help but gasp in air conditioning there. Shocked and inexplicable, there was a lot of discussion. Obviously, they were all shocked by the explosive content above. Ah, Marco, you got up late today. Whitebeard, who was sitting there, looked at Marco who was running over in a hurry, and raised the newspaper in his hand. There he sighed with emotion. I have already seen it. Tisk, what a terrifying future life. Information about their Whitebeard pirates. We have already received the news that Marine is going to launch a buster call against the Hell Pirates. I thought that if the Hell Pirates didn't evacuate decisively this time, they would be able to escape unscathed once they were bitten by Marine's fleet. Unexpectedly, there was such a big commotion. 2 of the 3 admirals were lost, and 2 admiral candidates were captured. A large fleet composed of 30,000 elite Marines and 80 warships can be said to have been completely wiped out. It's incredible. Blah la la la. I didn't expect that guy Sengoku, just a few years after taking office, would actually step down. Whitebeard grinned and said, is that guy so angry that he is going to vomit blood? Dad, it seems that you were listed as the 4, with Big, MCM, Kaido, and William of Hell. 4 emperors? That's boring enough. Whitebeard threw away the newspaper and chuckled casually. The whole person stood up, raised his thick right arm high, and announced loudly, young children, we have a banquet today, celebrate well. Marine has suffered such a big loss, and it can be said that its vitality has been severely damaged. Advertisement I believe that in a short period of time, it will be impossible to draw out the troops to cause trouble in the New World. They pirates should naturally be happy and celebrate. As for the rise of the Hell Pirates, will they expand aggressively and threaten the Whitebeard Pirates? Whitebeard didn't care at all, he is Whitebeard. Oh, tilde, Caramel Puff Tower. Not this. Hand it over to me, Caramel Puff Tower. The middle half of New World, Toto Land Sea Area, Cake Island. At this moment, the whole town was falling into chaos. A tall figure with disheveled hair was wreaking havoc. He kept destroying those cake buildings and even stuffed them directly into his mouth. Swallow it in big gulps. Immediately, he went out directly. With one punch, he demolished the huge building in front of him. The face was ferocious, the aura was terrifying, and he was roaring viciously. What is shocking is that this tall and bloated figure is none other than Charlotte Linlin, the second captain of the Big Mom pirate group who has just been included in the 4 Emperors. Is the topic this time caramel puff tart? Damn it, my mom's sorexia actually happened again. Please wait, Mom, the chef team is working hard and it will be ready soon. Please don't destroy the town again, Mom. This is the headquarters of our Big Mom Pirates. A child of the Charlotte family, and those members of the Big Mom Pirates. Everyone there was a little panicked and broke into a cold sweat. He could only be on tenterhooks and tried his best to dissuade Charlotte Linlin, who seemed to have lost her mind and was wreaking havoc everywhere. But no one dared to stop him, because we all know that once this mother Sorexia attacks, she will not recognize her relatives when she comes back. If she stood in front of her, even her biological children would be killed without hesitation. The only way to restore her sanity is to make the food she wants to eat and satisfy the other party's requirements. Advertisement: it can't even be perfunctory, it must be allowed to taste satisfactory and the dough can be restored. Otherwise it will continue to be destroyed. Go. Such a big thing happened outside. Watch Charlotte Linlin destroy the town. The eldest son of the Charlotte family, Perospero, was full of distress. My mother is making trouble at this time. What happened? Brother Peros, a long-legged beauty with long white hair and a stunning figure, asked in surprise. Smoothie. See for yourself, Perospero said. Nothing nonsense. He handed the newspaper directly to Smoothie, the 14th daughter of the Charlotte family and one of the 4 dessert stars. Huh? Smoothie took the newspaper and glanced at it. His eyes widened and he took a breath of air. Hiss, is this a joke? That Black Prison William is so powerful? 0.0 Marines Buster Call fleet was wiped out? 2 of the 3 admirals representing the highest combat power of the naval headquarters were killed? Even 2 of the admiral candidates were captured? Isn't that a bit too exaggerated? Are the Hell Pirates so powerful? In all her life, she has never heard of anyone killing a Marine admiral. That represents the highest combat power of naval headquarters, and it is a truly overwhelming monster. Even if she is not as good as her mother, Charlotte Linlin, a natural monster. But it's not easy to kill any Marine admiral directly. And Hell William actually accomplished such a feat. If Kizaru hadn't escaped directly, he would have almost killed all 3 admirals. It's unbelievable. Our Charlotte family has always had the reputation of being number 1 in the industry. I have confirmed the information and it cannot be false. Perospero stared at Charlotte Linlin, who was losing her mind and kept shouting, Caramel Puff Tower, and said worriedly, what I'm worried about is that the Hell Pirates will compete with our Big Mom Pirates next. There's a conflict. Hopefully it won't be that bad. Smoothie hears this. His expression became solemn. In such a short period of time, the Marine fleet could exceed 30,000 elites, and the Buster Call fleet, led by the 3rd Admiral himself, was almost completely annihilated. The Hell Pirates are obviously a formidable enemy. Hell William, this ridiculously young monster, should not be underestimated. But Brother Peros, you don't have to be too worried. Our Big Mom Pirates are not vegetarians either. Chapter 247, Red-Haired Fear, Beast's Fighting Spirit. Hiss, is this real? What an incredible guy. Have Akainu and Aokiji been killed? The Buster Call fleet sent by Marine was completely wiped out. Has the strength of the Hell Pirates reached this level? It's unbelievable. How on earth did Black William do it? Did you release all the monsters from the deep sea prison? To be rewarded with a bounty of 5 billion Baileys at such a young age is really a terrifying monster. Now, the second half of New World. In a certain area of the sea, Redfurs is guarding it. A member of the Red Hair Pirates was shocked when he looked at the newspaper he had just purchased from Newsbird. They all couldn't believe that the Buster Call fleet, personally led by Naval Headquarters 3rd Admiral, suffered an unprecedented defeat and was almost wiped out. 2 admirals, Akainu and Aokiji, died, and only 1 admiral, May 4th, Kizaru, escaped. It is even said that 2 admiral candidates and other Naval Headquarters vice admirals were captured. It's almost like a dream. They have been pirates for so long. So far, I have never heard of any admiral of headquarters being killed. These guys, who represent the highest combat power of Naval Headquarters, are out-and-out monsters. No one can stand against 2 Marine admirals at the same time. This is the consensus on the sea. Boss, what do you think? Ben Beckman put down the newspaper, looking at the red-haired Shanks in front of him with the same solemn expression. In fact, after they made up their minds and prepared to attack Ochaku, they found that the opponent was much more difficult than they imagined. This remnant of the former Rocks pirate is not only incredibly powerful in its own right. The forces under its banner are also quite strong. So much so that it has been delayed until now, although it is extremely possible that Hell William used the strong men imprisoned and impelled down to achieve such great results. The red-haired face looked solemn as never before, and he said seriously, but there is no doubt that this is a terrible enemy. Even as optimistic as he is, advertisement at this time, I also felt invisible pressure. The existence of the Hell Pirates is undoubtedly a great threat to the Red Hair Pirates. The stage of New World is huge. It can be said to be a paradise for the strong and a hell for the weak. But it is too small and cannot accommodate more forces. Hell William's ambition must be more than that. What I'm really worried about is Ben Beckman took a deep breath and said in a deep voice, he may be targeting Ochaku next. 4 emperors. Once such an order is formed, New World will be divided by these 4 major forces, and it will not be easy to break it again. The redhead was silent. The current situation is very unfavorable to red hair pirates, and it can be said that it is a bit of a dilemma. Persimmon is picking on the weak, Ochaku occupies a large territory, and will definitely be watched by William of Hell next. And if the red hair pirates make up their mind to fight Ochaku directly, they may not be able to reach the top even if they win. On the contrary, it may be because they just fought with Ochaku and suffered a lot of losses before they had time to rest and recuperate. But the Hell Pirates took the opportunity to sneak attack. But if the Hell Pirates are allowed to defeat Ochaku, so, the next one to bear the brunt of is Red Hair Pirates. Unless, the Red Hair Pirates are really willing to quit New World. But of course that's impossible. What do you think, Beckman? Red Hair looked at the experienced and resourceful vice captain, whom he regarded as his right-hand man. The plan for now, he exhaled a puff of smoke. Pinching out the cigarette, Beckman said quietly, if our 2 families put aside their prejudices and join forces, there may still be a glimmer of hope. Otherwise, we can only withdraw from New World, continue to accumulate strength, and wait for an opportunity to act. As for directly challenging the Big Mom Pirates and Beasts Pirates, the strength of these 2 families is indeed slightly inferior to the Whitebeard Pirates, which has the world's strongest man Whitebeard and is powerful, and the Hell Pirates, which is likely to have recruited most of the prisoners from Impel Down and has greatly increased its strength. But with the current strength of the Red Hair Pirates, it is still too risky. Perhaps after both sides are hurt, they may even make wedding clothes for others and be picked peaches. Then let's see what Ochaku thinks. The red-haired man frowned and said helplessly, Shen is afraid that he will die without knowing it. Because Ochaku's character is too stubborn, that guy is not so easy to convince. At the same time, Wanokuni, Ghost Island, advertisement. Jin, how is the situation, inside the huge skeleton building? The beast Kaido, wrapped in bandages and with amazing momentum, sat there. Carrying a huge wine gourd, he kept pouring wine into his mouth and looked at the person who came. Mr. Kaido. This is today's newspaper. Jin's only exposed eyes were full of solemnity. Spreading out a brand new newspaper, he gestured to the beast Kaido in front of him. The Marine Buster Call fleet was almost wiped out. Only 1 Kizaru of the 3 admirals escaped. 2 admirals Akainu and Aokiji died in battle, and 2 admiral candidates, Jumping Rabbit T-Pig, were captured. In addition, Marine Marshal Buddha Sengoku resigned and is now temporarily replaced by World Government General Commander Kong, Marine Marshal. Oh, what a monster. Hearing this, Kaido's eyes shrank sharply. Then, he grinned and laughed. It seems that he should have reached an agreement with the monsters in Eternal Hell and plotted against Marine. He had failed countless times and been executed many times. He did not become depressed because of the siege of William of Black Prison and those zombies, nor did he become impulsive and irritable, let alone ashamed of anything. Every failure will only make him more and more courageous, constantly getting stronger, and constantly surpassing. Along the way, many guys who he could only look up to in the past have been surpassed by himself unknowingly. The amazing performance of William of Black Prison made him recognize the other party as an opponent worth fighting. Such a big loss, Marine's title of the Overlord of the Sea is no longer worthy of its name, Jin sighed. Looking at Kaido of the Beasts, who did not become depressed because of this blow, but became more and more courageous, and was still so high-spirited. His eyes were full of amazement and admiration. This is the man who is destined to become the Pirate King, in his mind. Oh, I didn't expect that Marine, who was vulnerable and could only rely on numbers to bully others, would have this day. Black Prison William, worthy of being a man recognized by Lousy, 2.2. Beasts Kaido laughed. If it were him, he thought he couldn't do this. Unexpectedly, the other party could directly pull Marine down from the position of Overlord of the Sea. By the way, Mr. Kaido. Morgan's called you, Whitebeard, Big Mom, and Black Prison William the 4 Emperors of the New World. 4 Emperors? Beasts Kaido raised his eyebrows and sneered. Morgan's, that slippery guy, is really good at dealing with things. I'm really looking forward to it more and more. Throwing away the wine gourd, the tall figure stood up. Kaido, the beast, opened his arms, and his fighting spirit was higher than ever before. Oh. Chapter 248 World Recruitment, Turbulent Sea, Sengoku, you are too impulsive this time. The first half of the Grand Line, Naval Headquarters, Marineford. In the spacious and luxurious Marshal's office, a figure with a mohawk, a beard, a strong physique, and exaggerated muscles crossed his arms, bold and grandiose, sitting in the seat that should belong to the Buddha's Sengoku. Compared with the more solemn Buddha Sengoku in the past, he only wore a brown t-shirt and a wide white cloak, which was a bit more casual. And in front of him was the Buddha himself, Sengoku. But he seems to be more energetic and more than 10 years older than before. Do you know that if I hadn't been the mediator, plus you have a high prestige within Marine, and have been close friends with Marine senior executives such as Garp, Zephyr, and Ahe for many years, a hasty handling of this situation may have adverse consequences for the current situation. Marine has been severely weakened and can no longer withstand the torment, causing great turmoil. Will the 5 elders really send you directly to a military court for trial? Looking at this old subordinate whom I admired and relied on most in the past. Kong, who was pushed out by the world government to take over Marine and clean up the mess, his eyes were full of unspeakable regret, and he said in a deep voice, "You should know very well that what they care about most is that their authority cannot be offended, and others cannot be offended. On the contrary, it's the second best. If it weren't for this time, Marine would have suffered too much loss." To say it hurts the muscles and bones is an understatement, but someone must be responsible. It can be said that Marine Marshal Sengoku of Buddha is to blame, and he does not want his old subordinate to step down so easily. After all, he single-handedly promoted the other party and has always done a very good job. Political life should not end like this. It happened that this mistake led to such a result. But Kong knew very well that if it were him, the result would be the same. No one expected that Hell William could achieve such an extent, nearly annihilating the Buster Call fleet led by Marine Lord Admiral himself. Marshal Kong, you also know that from the time I was Admiral to now, I can be said to be conscientious and cautious, for fear of making any mistakes. Sengoku looked slumped. He looked directly at the old boss in front of him and said in a deep voice, "I do have an unshakable responsibility for this failure, and I am willing to bear it. But if it weren't for those high-ranking men who were arrogant and blindly giving orders." He was a little furious, clenched his fists tightly, and gritted his teeth. If they hadn't ordered Marine to immediately launch a buster call to Dressrosa before investigating the specific information about the Hell Pirates, our Marine would not have formed a fleet in such a hurry, act rashly. Maybe it won't lead to such a result, speaking of which. Advertisement instead, he relaxed and sneered. Besides, I'm not a fool. At best, I just contradicted a few words, and I haven't really lost my mind. I believe they won't really fight for such a few innocuous words. Dare to judge me. I'm going to step down anyway. Ever since first became the Marine Marshal, I have been arrogantly scolded and beaten by those old guys every 3 days, making me, the Marine Marshal, even worse than the loyal dogs of the Celestial Dragons in CP. I'm very frustrated, can't I just complain a little bit? Roba pointed at Sengoku. Kong was a little helpless. There is no point saying this now. The political life of Sengoku, an old subordinate of Buddha, has come to an end. I have received your resignation report. He looked at Sengoku and said directly, but I hope you and Garp will continue to stay in Marine and lead new people like Shifa. You also know exactly what kind of situation Marine is facing right now. 2 Marine admirals were lost, 10 vice admirals including 2 admiral candidates, countless other generals and officers, and even 30,000 real Marine elites. The current strength of the naval headquarters is unprecedentedly weak, and its military experience is seriously insufficient. The backbone of Marine is almost on the verge of breaking down. Stay in Marine to train new people? Sengoku hesitated for a moment and smiled bitterly. I have no objection. This time Marine suffered an unprecedented defeat, suffered heavy losses, and its prestige was seriously damaged. After all, it was caused by him, the Marshal, when he was in office. He really couldn't just pick a mule and quit. After all, he dedicated half of his youth to Marine. Naturally, we don't want it to become so desolate. In addition, the higher-ups have prepared to launch a large-scale world conscription to supplement Marine's lost strength, Kong said there. World conscription? Sengoku raised an eyebrow. He had expected it. Because in the history of Marine, we have seen such moves several times for various reasons. Be eclectic and select talents from all over the world to supplement your combat strength. Although this will inevitably cause some impact and controversy within Marine. But it is currently the best way for Marine to quickly recover. There is no choice. Advertisement, do you have a candidate for Admiral? He knew that the world government must have relevant information about the powerful civilians on the sea. Maybe the first time he considered the world conscription. There are already rough candidates. There are indeed 2 suitable candidates, but no one has been formally contacted yet. I don't know if they are willing. Kong did not hide anything. He took out 2 documents directly from the drawer and handed them to Sengoku in front of him. Aramaki? Is Logia a user with the Sensen Fruit ability? Looking through the second information, Sengoku raised his eyebrows and looked at Kong in surprise. Is this a blind man with a smile? Without him, the photo on the profile shows a 790, leaning on a cane and wearing a bathrobe, a somewhat slovenly middle-aged man in his 40s or 50s. But that slightly ferocious face. 2 shocking scars penetrated his eyes, and he was obviously blind. Such a person is still planning to invite him to join Marine and promote him to Admiral? He is blind but not blind. Kong rubbed his mohawk and said, I heard that his observation hockey can clearly hear the clouds and lightning in the sky, and even the meteorites in outer space can rely on gravity. The ability of the fruits to pull them down and crush the enemy. Meteorites from space? Sengoku's eyes widened. Is this an exaggeration? At this moment, Sengoku's former lieutenant, Branu, hurried over. He was sweating profusely. After saluting the 2 of them, he hurriedly said, Marshal Kong, Marshal Sengoku. Something bad is going to happen. What's up? Sengoku's eyes narrowed. Kong, who was sitting there, couldn't help but raise his eyebrows. It seems that due to the impact of Marine's defeat, it can no longer deter those guys who are ready to take action and are ambitious. Branu wiped his sweat and said there. The pirates in the 4 seas and the first half of the Grand Line suddenly started to make trouble. There were constant calls from all over the place asking for help, and the major branches were almost overwhelmed. What? Chapter 249. In a chaotic era, William's thoughts. Kokik. Run, the pirates are coming. Aren't those marine guys here yet? Those bastards asked us to think of a solution ourselves, saying that we didn't have that many troops at all. How can we repair East Blue, a bustling town? At this moment, they were facing artillery fire. A large pirate ship stopped on the sea. A pirate with a hideous name and a vicious face was brandishing swords and guns, burning, killing and looting everywhere. Countless civilians fled in panic, full of fear and anxiety, trembling. Ah ha ha ha, little ones, come on the bow. A fierce captain wearing a pirate hat held a revolver and fired several shots into the sky. He showed his big gold teeth and grinned ferociously with his arms spread out. Kill all, burn all, and rob this place for lousy. When we collect enough supplies, we will go to the Grand Line. Marine is nothing more than a paper tiger. Even Admiral, who claims to represent the highest combat power of naval headquarters, was easily killed. Those guys have their own business, so there is no need to be afraid of them. Oh, long live the captain, countless pirates laughed excitedly. They all held their weapons high, full of cheers and excitement. With bloodthirsty and madness in his eyes, he attacked the town like a wolf. Bulu tilde 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 bolo tilde tilde tilde. At this moment, the 55th Marine Branch is approaching. In the communications room, the phone was already buzzing. Correspondents are all busy there, and they are too busy at all. Hey, is it Hanix Island? I understand. I'm very sorry, there is currently a serious shortage of manpower. We at Marine will arrange personnel to go there as soon as possible. Before then, please be sure to find ways to protect your personal safety. What? The Sith Kingdom was attacked by pirates. Have there been pirates on Barengo Island? All Marine personnel were busy. Advertisement. After hanging up the phone, I was a little worried. Damn it, all the combatants that can be sent out have been sent out. A Marine ensign clenched his fists tightly, full of helplessness, and gritted his teeth and said, suddenly so many pirates are causing trouble, I can't even take care of it tilde. Hurry up and ask the headquarters for help and ask them to send reinforcements from other nearby branches. It's no use. I've already asked for instructions. Other branches are also facing the same situation. They're busy suppressing the pirates who are causing trouble, and there is no spare force at all. Damn. What's going on? Everything is fine. Are we going to go back to the chaos at the beginning of the Great Pirate Era? Similar events. It's not just happening in East Blue. West Blue, South Blue, North Blue, Grand Line and even New World. In a short period of time, as the news spread, in less than half a day, a large number of pirates began to attack nearby towns and countries unscrupulously, causing chaos everywhere, burning, killing and looting. The major branches of Marine were overwhelmed and had no choice but to ask for help from the headquarters. Due to the annihilation of the Buster Call fleet, the naval headquarters, which was already busy with a series of aftermath matters such as comforting the families of Marines who were killed or captured, had already begun to feel overwhelmed. However, 30,000 elites were previously mobilized to form the Buster Call fleet, and the headquarters' strength was already stretched thin. It was extremely empty and unable to support the major branches. For a moment, because of Marine's defeat, it caused extremely bad effects. I saw the weakness of Marine, the overlord of the sea. Those pirates who could only live peacefully like mice on weekdays while being chased around and hide into bed became bolder and made trouble everywhere. Those ambitious and unwilling guys on the sea were even more ready to move and began to rush out to sea to join this carnival and feast. In less than a day, the entire sea had fallen into unprecedented chaos. Since the Great Pirate Era, Marine has been able to suppress it after more than 10 years of unremitting efforts. The order of the sea, which has gradually become stable, is once again on the verge of collapse and becomes turbulent. The severity of the situation at sea, far beyond the imagination and expectations of Marine and world government. It gave them a headache, and made them even more angry. They were gnashing their teeth against the Hell Pirates. I wish I could immediately behead the culprit, Hell William, alive. Lord William. The first half of New World. The terrifying ship lying offshore of Dressrosa. The dusty Shiryu of the Rain came to the training ground. Shang directly became the boss and handed over all other matters to Robin, the big housekeeper, who was responsible for scheduling. However, he was not idle. William, who was undergoing intensive training, reported. The nationals of Dressrosa are all here. It's been transferred back. Well, that's good. Thank you for your hard work, Shiryu. Advertisement. William shook off his sweat. Turning around, he looked at Shiryu of the Rain. It is clear that the other party came specifically to see me, and there should be other things. After this battle, Marine has become unprecedentedly weak and unable to conquer the New World again. It is even less possible to have the energy to target a small country like Dressrosa, which can be said to be insignificant, to anger the Hell Pirates. Therefore, he is not planning to take away the entire island of Dressrosa, he only needs to leave the flag of the Hell Pirates to Violet, the heroine. Tilda, those three guys, are you really going to let them go like this? Rain Shiryu asked in confusion. Yesterday, after getting their hearts back. He didn't even attend the Hell Pirates celebration party. Bullet, World, and Red Earl couldn't wait to leave. Those three people are quite amazing in terms of strength and ability. He felt it would be a pity to miss it like this. It doesn't matter. If you dare to hinder us, we can just deal with it. William waved his hand and said nonchalantly, for him, even if he gets the shadows of these guys, the zombies or ghost warriors he creates will not be stronger than the special zombies like Majin Oz. Pirates are also honest. If he breaks his promise, how will the people in the country view him? At least, he, Obask William, doesn't even have this courage. There is no need to just start a fight with Marine, win, and immediately start to fall out and kill the donkey. Moreover, not to mention the two guys Red Earl and World, Bullet, who once admired power and aspired to be the strongest, because of the betrayal of his companions, may become his own, Jiao Jiao Jiao. William believes that when his strength improves and the ability of the fusion fruit is awakened, he will definitely come to challenge him. At that time, all he had to do was crush him with absolute force. Maybe we can conquer this guy. As for the abilities of Red Earl and World, at the moment, the Hell Pirates don't have anyone particularly worthy of training. It would be more interesting to put the abilities on them first and let them run to the sea to make trouble and cause some trouble to Marine or other forces. Lest this sea become too boring. I believe these guys have seen the depth and strength of the Hell Pirates. Under normal circumstances, he would not take the initiative to provoke himself so quickly. Anyway, let them have a good time on the sea first. William chuckled. Maybe they can also cause some trouble for the Marine and World Government guys. Wait for the Hell Pirates to hibernate and develop for a few years before accumulating enough strength. When the time comes, those who follow me will really prosper, and those who go against me will perish. Chapter 250 The Three Gorgon Sisters Crying with Joy. Noon. The sun was shining brightly, next to Dressrosa, Greenbit Peninsula. This time, it's all thanks to you, Manchili, William said with a smile, looking at the little human princess standing in the palm of his hand. The 2 drops of mysterious potion he drank earlier were the tears of Princess Manchili. If it weren't for her Paramecia healing fruit ability, which allowed her to let go of her scruples, she might not have been able to take down that guy Akainu so quickly. At the very least, William has no scruples about lava fruit's terrifying attack power. Especially Akainu's counterattack before he died, which almost destroyed one of his hands. Even if he is a person transformed by blood factors. It may not be easy to recover. Of course, the Hell Pirates have Hobaku, the repair fruit user, and Luo, the op fruit user, which is one of the reasons why he can go all out regardless of the consequences. It's just that they are 2 of the most famous doctors in the sea. It is also impossible to make him recover instantly on the battlefield like the healing fruit ability. Lord William, this is what I should do. Manchili Chow 130's face turned red and she said a little shyly. Yes, those guys in world government are so abominable. You actually want to destroy our home, thanks to you Sir William. You will always be our great benefactor to the Dongtata tribe. The small human tribes around were all talking there. The innocent, romantic, kind and simple Dongtata tribe are full of gratitude to William, the great benefactor who defeated the Don Quixote family, defeated Marine, and protected Dressrosa and Greenbit. This is what I should do. William smiled lightly. He is certainly not a bad person, it's just that these little humans are good at cultivating plants. He felt that maybe he could come in handy next and use some favors to win him over. But those small favors, plus this time, Violet, the Queen of Dressrosa, fully explained to them the threat of Marine Buster Call. They think that if it weren't for the Hell Pirates, their homeland would have been destroyed, and even the Dongtata clan might not be spared. To these little humans, he, Obask William, is a good man and a benefactor. He was not polite and said directly to the little human princess, I just have something else that I need to ask of you, Manchili. Advertisement, Sir William, what's going on? Manchili's eyes widened and he said hurriedly, if I can help, please feel free to tell me. Well, I have a few friends, half an hour later. Far in the calm belt adjacent to South Blue in the first half of the Grand Line. Daughter's Island, Amazon Lily, located on the mountain in an antique palace. William. Sister Hancock was surprised and happy when she saw the young figure suddenly emerging from the shadows without deliberately concealing his aura. At the same time, the maids who were inexplicably surprised were immediately screened away. Strict orders not to be disturbed by anyone. This is? Hancock looked over William's shoulder in surprise. Holding his broken hair, the somewhat timid Princess Manchili. Are there any people so small in the open sea? Sandersonia and Marigold were surprised. This is Princess Manchili of the Dongtata tribe. William introduced with a smile. She is Paramecia, a person with the ability to heal the fruit. I brought her here specially to eliminate the Tianxiang dragon behind you. Mark of the hoof. Manchili, don't be afraid, they are all our own people and are easy to get along with. Said, he comforted Manchili, who was a little afraid of strangers. Hello, I'm Manxeri, was encouraged by William. Manchili mustered up her courage and greeted her politely. She held her little hands and looked at the beautiful Hancock in front of her, her big eyes flashing. Are you Mr. Hancock? It's really just like Mr. William said, you are so beautiful. Yeah? Hancock heard this, he couldn't help but glance at William. He narrowed his crescent eyes, raised the corners of his lips slightly, and was filled with joy. He stretched out his hand and gently touched Manchili, and said with a smile, you are also very beautiful. Then, I'll leave it to you, Princess Manchili, Sandersonia said excitedly. She is willing to pay any price as long as she can eliminate the damn slave mark on her back. Yes, please feel free to leave it to me. Advertisement. Manchili nodded seriously. Lord William has already told her. In particular, the Dantata people had a humiliating history of being enslaved by the Don Quixote family. She naturally knows what those celestial dragon slave marks mean. Then please come with me. The thought of being able to remove the imprint of the Tianqiang dragon's hoof. Hancock was obviously impatient and led a few people towards the inner room. At the end, Lang Yan's pretty face was a little rosy and her voice was trembling. She turned directly to William, who was standing there, and said, "William, you come in too." William was stunned. He smiled and waved his hand. "That's not necessary. I believe it won't take long to eliminate these marks." Not that he is a gentleman. He was convinced that a lustful person like himself would be 100% unable to stop the charm of the world's most beautiful woman who could turn all sentient beings upside down. But you can watch it but not eat it, and there are also Hancock's 2 dinosaur sisters. If you can't control yourself, you might make a fool of yourself. It's really boring. Hancock's sapphire-like eyes stared deeply at William, smiling and nodding gently. This ridiculously young and ridiculously strong man is a bit different. If it were anyone else, he would have been shameless enough to follow him. But the other party didn't have that idea. Watching the 3 Hancock sisters take Manchili into the inner room, William directly patted Samaro, who was shocked by his breath, shivering a little and did not dare to resist, and sat on the chair hole beside him. He crossed his legs, held the teacup next to him, and drank tea there. Wait patiently. Not long after inside, there were bursts of tears of joy. Very good, really disappeared. Thank you so much, Princess Manshui. OSOSOS. Chapter 251. Pirate Island Beehive, Angry Ochaku. Dusk. The sun sets. The second half of New World, Pirate Island Hive. This place was once the home of Rock's Pirate, the overlord of the sea in the previous era, and was later occupied by Ochaku, a former member of Rock's Pirate. Except for the pirates of the Ochaku Pirates, there are also a large number of pirates who belong to the pirate groups under Ochaku, making it a paradise for pirates. As long as you don't cause trouble here and spend money normally, you won't be expelled or targeted by the Ochaku pirates. But having said that, those unruly and aggressive pirates often have frictions and even direct fierce conflicts, and it is common for them to fight each other. But the rules of pirates are not that many, they are simple, rough and direct. If during a fight, those places that have paid protection fees to the Ochaku pirates are accidentally destroyed, the group's leader only needs to compensate. At this time, the pirates on the island were living a life of drunkenness and dreams as usual. And in the huge skeleton building, Ochaku, the captain of the Ochaku pirates, is sitting boldly and grandiose on a sofa. Damn Morgans, a mere brat, he actually overshadowed Lousy. Looking at the newspaper delivered today, he looked extremely gloomy. He clenched his fists tightly, veins bulging out. He punched the table in front of him with a fist, and said angrily, "Then there is no my master among the 4 emperors. Is it because Lousy is not worthy?" 6666. A large number of wine bottles and desks were shattered on the ground. "Yes, Captain, the report is really abominable. That B************** D. Morgans doesn't take our Ochaku pirates seriously at all. Even though the Hell pirates are very powerful, our Ochaku pirates are not bad either. At the very least, we should be ranked as the 5 emperors. We must give him some color to see. The pirates of the Ochaku pirates are present. They are all filled with indignation and resentment. You said something to me, expressing your own opinions there. Captain, the Red Hair pirates sent someone to deliver a letter." A pirate hurried in and put a letter on the house. "Huh? Red Hair pirates? Haven't those guys been causing trouble for us lately? Do you want to bow your head and beg for mercy?" Ochaku raised an eyebrow. Even the cadres around him couldn't help but be filled with surprise. "We've tested it, it's not poisonous." Seeing his captain hesitate, the pirate who delivered the letter said. Ochaku said no more, opened the envelope and read it. HMPH. Do you want to turn conflicts into friendship, put aside conflicts, and join forces to fight against the Hell pirates? Look at the contents of the letter. Ochaku laughed ferociously, tore the letter into pieces without hesitation, and threw it out the window. Are you kidding me? Lousy doesn't believe that Black Prison William dares to kill him before he has a firm foothold in the New World. I, Ochaku, am not one of those third-rate pirates out there who is easily dispatched. When the Rocks pirate roamed the sea, he wasn't even born yet. Advertisement, however, Ochaku was not done yet. Those cadres were just about to say something. From the outside world, bursts of screams suddenly came out. Enemy attack. What are these monsters? There are so many? How is this going? But without warning, in the shadows of every corner. Suddenly, countless shadow monsters emerged and rushed in all directions. The dense and countless army of ghosts and zombies surrounded the pirates inside and out. Whether it is the pirates of the Ochaku pirates or those who are resting here. Everyone was shocked. Wait until Ochaku leads his men to the rooftop of the skeleton building. Looking outside, everyone can't help but change their color. Because all you can see are ferocious-looking black monsters, other heavily armed zombie legions, and even beast legions. From every direction, every corner, the entire Beehive Island was surrounded. Damn! This powerful Haki? Ochaku's expression changed drastically. Suddenly, he looked into the distance. There suddenly appeared a powerful aura that no one could ignore. A large number of black shadows surged. Under the gaze of those pirates, countless crows, all pitch black and filled with an ominous aura, flapped their wings and flew high into the sky. In their shocked and incomprehensible eyes, they gathered into a young and stalwart figure. Standing in the sky, that is, Hell William? Gulu, Hell Pirates, aren't they in Dressrosa? Why did you suddenly appear here? Looking at the tall figure who was too young to be true, but cannot be underestimated. The pirates couldn't help but shrink their pupils and lost their voices in shock. He showed a look of disbelief and shed cold sweat. Somewhat frightened. Obask William of Black Prison. Ochaku's eyelids twitched. When he recognized the other party, he immediately became furious. He glared at William, full of awe-inspiring murderous intent. What do you mean? Advertisement, sorry for disturbing you by coming uninvited. Asterisk 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 asterisk. William's tall figure. Stepping on the shadow line that is almost invisible to the naked eye, he responded in the air. After Mancheli eliminated the mark of the Tianxiang dragon's hoof for the three Gorgon sisters. He did not continue to stay on the Isle of Girls, but rejected the invitation of Empress, Boa Hancock, and returned to Dressrosa directly with Mancheli. Gathering troops, they went to Beehive Island, the home of the Ochaku pirates. Because I don't want to delay any longer, lest the Red Hair Pirates and the Ochaku Pirates unite to see the situation go wrong, which will only increase the variables. Prepare to take this place as your own and use it as the future headquarters of the Hell Pirates. I declare that starting from today, this place belongs to my Hell Pirates. Including you pirates, you will also join the Hell Pirates. Looking down at all the pirates present, even Ochaku and others on the rooftop looked evil. Zero William was very high-spirited, with his arms spread out, extremely arrogant, and full of hockey. At the end, he smiled and asked, I'm done. Who is in favor and who is against? As soon as he finished speaking, the whole place was completely silent. No one expected that Hell William would be so arrogant and domineering. He wanted to conquer them as soon as he came up, even the famous pirate Ochaku was ignored. What? Who do you think you are? 4 emperors is amazing. This is the Pirate Island Beehive. Damn you guys, how dare you underestimate our Ochaku pirates? Fight with them. Give them some color and see, for a while. The crowd was furious, countless pirates stared angrily. Everyone was gnashing their teeth and their eyes were spitting fire. There they were holding weapons, murderous and fierce. If they disagree with each other, they will directly attack the Shadow Corps and zombie legions that surround them in all directions. Boy, did you just win a battle and were a little too arrogant? Ochaku narrowed his eyes. He is tall and has a long beard. William was holding a huge heavy sword in his hand, pointing directly at William in the sky, showing a fierce murderous intent. You actually came to my Ochaku territory and acted recklessly. Don't compare lousy with those trash marines. The words have not yet finished. The tall figure suddenly appeared behind William, filled with an indescribable sense of oppression. The gleaming sword, wrapped around the powerful armament hockey, tore through the atmosphere and struck hard at William. Lousy is the master. Kai Chapter 252 William. Who doesn't know how to teleport? Kai. A cold light flashed, facing a sudden attack. William seemed completely unable to react. He was killed directly, but no bloodline was spilled. Pu Lingling. In the next moment, his body was separated, and his body suddenly turned into a large number of crows. Everyone was a little shocked and some couldn't believe it. I know you are Ochaku, but I'm sorry, in Ochaku's shrinking gaze. The head that flew out looked at him expressionlessly and said calmly, in my eyes, you are not even as good as the sea. Tilda. Ochaku's eyes widened with fire. Somewhat furious, he swung out a blazing slash and hit William. Boom. The dazzling slash, carrying the powerful hockey, 873, directly toward the atmosphere. William's flying head was split in half instantly. The terrifying chop wave continued unabated and hit the distant buildings. Boom. A corner of the huge skeleton building was cut off as easily as tofu. It's scary and shocking. The sliding building was smashed down by wolves. The pirates fled in a hurry, causing quite a bit of chaos. Teleportation fruit. Woo. Ochaku froze. The strong sense of crisis made him change his color in horror. Gatling shadow gun. In an instant, William appeared behind Ochaku. A flash of scarlet light flashed in his eyes, as if he had foreseen something. The black shadow on his right hand surged and condensed into a dark Gatling machine, which was directly aimed at the mountain in the distance. Teleport. Almost at the same time. Since he could not fly, Ochaku, whose body was falling after swinging the sword, suddenly activated his fruit power without thinking and disappeared in an instant. He is actually a user with the ability of Paramecia teleportation fruit and can move instantly. Dit. In the blink of an eye, the sharp, dark shadow bullets that entangled hockey continued to break through the air. The Gatling shadow gunshot wound condensed directly from William's right hand and shot out violently. The overwhelming force rushed towards Ochaku, who had just teleported to the Skull Mountain. What? Ochaku, who had just appeared here and had no time to react, changed his color in shock. The big sword was swung, and he was trying to block and dodge. Advertisement sparks sputter. Countless shadow bullets were narrowly blocked by him. The next moment, he looked hard and disappeared from the spot again. Let the continuous bombardment of shadow bullets fail. It actually appeared directly above William, SYY. The huge double-edged sword danced. It rotated violently there, blowing fierce wind pressure. Carrying exaggerated power, he slashed down hard. Kai. However, the whole person seemed to be stunned, and William did not dodge at all. Directly hit by the powerful and heavy sword, split into two halves. But Ochaku's expression changed, because, just like before, he directly killed Hell William. It was like being chopped on tofu, without encountering any obstacles at all. There was no blood spattered on the opponent's body at all. Whoosh. Woo. Densely packed shadow lines come directly from William's body, which is divided into two. Shooting out in all directions, shadow cage. In an instant, a large number of buildings were directly penetrated. The entire island is directly covered by countless thin and sharp shadow lines that are almost invisible to the naked eye. Brush. Swipe. The dense shadow lines are crisscrossed and irregular. Almost the entire Beehive Island was covered. Some pirates who did not react in time were directly cut and pierced by the sudden shadow line, and fell into a pool of blood screaming. There are also many pirates with good strength who can easily block or dodge the incoming shadows. But looking at the island wrapped and covered by countless shadow lines like a dragnet, he couldn't help but change his color in shock. Brush, in an instant. William, who should have been split in two, very strangely, it appeared again. And instantly appeared behind Ochaku. The fist seal wrapped around Haki overwhelmed the atmosphere and struck hard. Kang. Sparks sputter. With observation Haki's early warning, William's attack was narrowly blocked. Advertisement Ochaku's eyes were stern, staring at William in front of him. You guy. Hey, are you surprised? William said with a sneer and an imposing aura, full of strength and domineering. You are not the only one who can move instantly. In an instant, the whole island was rumbling and shaking. Two terrifying conquerors Haki collided fiercely there. Black and red lightnings kept intertwining and jumping around, like dragons and snakes dancing. The huge skeleton building was shaken by the earthquake, as if it might collapse directly, which made people feel numb. Woo-hoo-hoo. Swoosh. On the sea, the waves are rough. The extremely violent wind pressure could not help but sweep across. Countless pirates were unable to stand firmly and were blown away by the strong hurricane. Plop. Plop. One of the weak pirates couldn't bear it anymore and foamed at the mouth. His eyes turned white and he passed out. 13,889. Its conqueror's collision, that monster, is really incredibly powerful. To be able to compete with Captain Ochaku, the officers of the Ochaku pirates couldn't help but be shocked. He looked at the two figures confronting each other with astonishing momentum and shock. Isle dollar, cold light flashed. Two figures kept flashing there 3.0. It was so fast that it was dizzying and impossible to see clearly. But the confrontation between the two was not as intense as when other strong men fought against each other. There is no shocking scene of tearing the earth apart and destroying towns at every turn. The whole process is full of weirdness and puzzling. In fact, it is dangerous and unpredictable, as fast as lightning, and its moves are deadly. Tricky and vicious. BB. So fast, I can't see clearly at all. That guy, does he also have the ability to teleport? Damn it, we're in trouble now. This incredible scene. The pirates who were familiar with Ochaku's abilities couldn't help but open their mouths. My jaw dropped to the floor. Some couldn't believe it. Inexplicably shocked. Chapter 253. Battle of Speed, defeated Ochaku. Hateful. Everyone come on, kill these monsters. We have Captain Ochaku here, and his abilities are invincible. The Hell Pirates are nothing to be afraid of, under the leadership of the officers of the Ochaku Pirates. Countless pirates were waving their weapons and shouting. Without hesitation, he waved the blade and cut off the shadow lines blocking the front. Rushed towards the Shadow Army and Zombie Army. A fierce fight started with them. L1 half. Boom. However, although this is the home base of the Ochaku Pirates, the strength of those cadres is indeed quite strong. However, after a battle with the Buster Call fleet, the Hell Pirates captured 2 admiral candidates, several naval headquarters vice admirals, and thousands of marines. William has the ability of the Shadow Fruit. Both the Shadow Army and the Zombie Army have been expanded again. In addition, together with those zombie legions, Luo, Wappa, Kid, Lafitte, Uruj, Shiryu of the Rain, Kimito Akin, Beiji suddenly rushed out from the castle inside the body of the ghost ability user, Capone Bej, Klo, Daz Bonus and other leaders of the Hell Pirates. The strength is not comparable to that of the Ochaku Pirates. Damn monster. Damn, what's going on? 24 inches, are these guys all immortal? What are these monsters? Why can they recover infinitely? Help. The battle situation completely exceeded the expectations of the pirates of the Ochaku Pirates. In the fierce fighting, facing the immortal ghost army and the zombie army, one's own personnel kept falling in a pool of blood. The Ghost Army and Zombie Army of the Hell Pirates are completely immortal. They are not as aware as Marine that the Ghost Warriors and Zombie Soldiers are restrained by salt. Because no matter how you kill, you can't kill these black monsters and zombie soldiers. These pirates gradually became frightened and uneasy, and subconsciously wanted to retreat. The groups of pirates were quickly defeated. However, the numerous and fearless ghost soldiers and zombie soldiers showed no mercy at all and hunted these pirates mercilessly. The battle situation directly presented a one-sided battle situation. Continuously, members of the Ochaku Pirates and pirates from its affiliated pirate groups fell in a pool of blood. Kang. Sparks sputter. On the rooftop of a building, red lightning intertwined. The strong air current makes it difficult to open your eyes. The gleaming sword and the steel-like fist mark collided directly in the air. Crack, click, click. The whole building was shaken so fast that it cracked at a speed visible to the naked eye. The cracks spread there and eventually collapsed. Ochaku, who is no less than 5 meters tall, and William, who is just over 3 meters tall, are competing against each other. Noticing the defeat of the battle and realizing that his own pirates were at a disadvantage, Ochaku gritted his teeth and glared at William. Damn, underscore. It's useless, no matter how hard you struggle. Looking directly at Ochaku with a solemn gaze, William was full of strength and said lightly, "Today, the Ochaku pirates are destined to be defeated." BL in an instant, the two figures kept flickering. Advertisement dense shadow lines cover the entire island. Although part of it was destroyed by Ochaku and his pirates. But it can't affect the performance of William's ability at all, and it can't give Ochaku any advantage. Because he doesn't just rely on shadow lines to teleport. Shadows are everywhere on the entire island. With the existence of the shadow world, he can freely travel to any corner. The speed is no less than that of Ochaku, who has the teleportation fruit ability. Especially with observation Haki, who can already see the future. Steady pressure on Ochaku. L+. The black cold light flashed away. A huge building was ruthlessly cut into two. Boom. The upper half collapsed and slid down. It makes people break into cold sweats. Ochaku's figure appeared there. The long beard was cut off, and there were shocking blood marks on the neck. The response is really fast. William looked calm. On the fingertips of the 5 fingers of the right hand, 5 subtle and sharp shadow lines are looming. What a pity. Damn it, can you foresee the future? His eyes were stern, his face was livid, and he looked at William in front of him angrily. Whether it's observation Haki being able to foresee the future, or mastering the Conqueror's entangled power. I never expected that the other party could achieve this level at such a young age, having both. In the entire sea, there are only a handful of people who can do this. For a moment, the muscles all over his body were tense and full of vigilance. Don't dare to be careless at all. Gatling shadow gun. Woo! A black shadow suddenly appeared from behind Ochaku. Let observation Haki not be weak, he noticed the crisis for the first time, and his hair stood up instantly. Without hesitation, he disappeared directly on the spot. Brush. But at the same time, William's eyes flashed red, and the corners of his mouth raised. Amazing currents are constantly bursting out from the body, and the 3 potentials are astonishing. It also disappeared in place. Detot. Sure enough, in an instant 12. Dense shadow bullets entangled Haki and kept breaking through the air. Continuously penetrated the atmosphere, bombarding the sky and covering the earth. Smoke and dust billowed. The entire building ahead was blasted with fist-sized holes in the blink of an eye, which was jaw-dropping. Densely packed and spread all over it, it makes one's scalp tingle. Boom. Kang. Advertisement. Boom. Between the electric light and flint, 3 figures kept flashing. But when it reaches ultimate, it is completely invisible to the naked eye. One building after another was directly cut or destroyed, and collapsed. Faintly, there were flowers of blood flying. Hell thrust hornblade shadow. At this time, terrifying lightning flashed past. As fast as thunder and lightning, he completely predicted where Ochaku would appear. He even predicted his dodge movements and directions. Ochaku, who just appeared, was unexpected. Accompanied by a scream. The pitch-black spear, carrying black and red lightning, pierced Ochaku's chest. Blood splattered, shocking. Wow. King 433's face was distorted and he vomited blood. He looked at the chest in disbelief. The big hand that was wrapped around Haki and covered with strange shadow spears, ruthlessly piercing his heart and cutting off his vitality. Ahem, it's impossible, it's just a kid. Lousy as Ochaku. Coughing blood, he stared at William in front of him. His whole face was ferocious and full of ruthlessness. Kai. The sharp sword struck out fiercely, however, William was about to be beheaded. It disappeared in an instant. Let his attack fail. Bye now. A splash of blood splattered. The sharp shadow line flashed across like lightning. Ochaku's eyes widened, filled with fierceness, and rolled down his head. Captain Ochaku, boss. Impossible, how so? How could Captain Ochaku be defeated? A horrifying scene. Countless pirates couldn't help but widen their eyes. Some couldn't believe it and screamed out loud. One by one, they stared blankly at the headless corpse and the falling head, and then looked at the unbelievably young figure in disbelief. While extremely angry, he could not help but be filled with horror. No one expected that a big pirate like Ochaku would be killed so quickly. Is this the power of 4 emperors? Hey, it looks like the winner has been decided. Easily blocking the fierce and rapid attack of Allen, the second in command of the Ochaku pirates, Ghost Sword. In front of him, Shiryu of the Rain bit his cigar and showed a relaxed smile. At this point, the Ochaku pirates have come to an end. Chapter 254. Harvest, MIMI fruit, boss, talk. Abominable black prison, what is that guy going to do with Captain Ochaku's body? That be asterisk 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 D, you actually humiliated Captain Ochaku like this. Suddenly, a bloated black shadow emerged from the corner. With his wide open mouth, he swallowed Ochaku's body alive. This scene made the pirates present clench their fists tightly and became a little angry. Especially those officers in the Ochaku pirates who were completely devoted to Ochaku were filled with grief and anger that could not be contained. Each one's eyes were red, and they rushed forward without fear of death, fighting with the ghost soldiers, zombie legions and even members of the Hell Pirates. But the next moment, in the horrified and shocked eyes of those pirates, Ochaku's bloody corpse was spat out again by the bloated black shadow. What is horrifying is that a strange devil fruit falls into William's hand. As that, could it? The pirates present could not help but shrink their pupils, showing disbelief. Thinking of something, everyone took a breath. A chill came out. BBA, B. William looked calm. Weighing the teleportation fruit he had just recovered, he kicked Ochaku in the head. He looked down at all the pirates present, and said calmly, "Who agrees with what I just said, and who opposes it?" Gulu. I am willing to surrender, Lord William. We, the Kree pirates, only hope that you will follow your lead. Me too. We are all willing to obey the instructions of the Hell Pirates. Lord William, we are willing to join the Hell Pirates. Photographed in William's terrifying power, there are also the monsters all around who are watching eagerly and completely unkillable. Except for a very few members of the Ochaku pirates. A large number of pirates who were originally affiliated with the Ochaku pirates were directly shaken. 3, 3, 5, 5, he put down his weapon there and was busy showing his loyalty. Ochaku? When he was alive, he was naturally their boss. They also fought for each other until the end. Now, sorry, he's dead. Advertisement, it's time for them to think about themselves. You bastards, you actually betrayed Captain Ochaku. Captain Ochaku has never treated you badly. They're all just wallflowers, spineless guys. Abominable black prison, among the Ochaku pirates. The pirates are led by the second in command Ghost Sword Allen. Each and every one of them had eyes split open, teeth gnashed, and extremely angry, glaring angrily at the weaklings present who had simply surrendered. Some people even wanted to rush forward and kill these traitors who were just living an ignoble existence. But similarly, there are also pirates who want to use the heads of these Ochaku pirates leaders as a surrender gift. Kill, damn traitors, kill them. Fart. This is called a wise man who knows the current affairs. Ochaku is dead, why is Lousy still working for him? Don't blame me, the only way to have a future is to follow Sir William. Damn, on weekdays, just because I am a leader of the King Pirates, I look down on us with my nose in the sky. Lousy has disliked you for a long time, I'll lend you someone to buy it for. For a while, a chaotic war broke out again. Faced with the sudden betrayal of a large number of pirates, he fought back. There are also zombie legions, ghost legions, and the siege of the Hell Pirates cadres. No surprises. Although the officers of the Ochaku pirates and some of their pirates were unwilling to give in and fought stubbornly, they could not be the opponents of the Hell Pirates after all. Even if William did not intervene in the battle again and just watched with a cold eye, there would be no other outcome. Until late afternoon, the entire island was covered in night. The pirates who resisted were captured alive and killed. Those pirates who were willing to surrender were directly gathered there with fear. Uneasy, waiting for the verdict of fate, facing the black monsters and zombie legions all around. No one dared to resist or escape. The air was filled with the disgusting smell of blood. Broken bodies and limbs were everywhere, making people sick. Advertisement: the originally noisy Beehive Island had become a mess in less than a few hours, full of traces of battle. Now, in a spacious and bright skeleton building, a huge treasure house was opened directly. It is full of dazzling jewels, and some are dazzling. Tisk, tisk, that Ochaku guy has quite a collection, Luo marveled there. After all, I was once a member of Rock's Pirate and has been working and developing in the New World for decades. It is normal to have some wealth. Shiryu of the Rain bit his cigar and said with a smile, "This little treasure is not worthy of Ochaku's worth." William shook his head. Several black shadows emerged from the ground. He respectfully presented several old treasure maps and 3 devil fruits. "Sir William, this is the treasure map found in the Lord's room. Also, 3 devil fruits were found." Oh? William raised his eyebrows, not surprised. Ochaku cannot put all his eggs in one basket. After all, being a pirate is a precarious business of licking blood from the edge of a knife. Even if one side is in a state of majesty and separatism today, no one can predict that it may be invaded by a powerful enemy tomorrow, or even the territory that has been worked so hard for many years will be taken away directly and forced to flee. If it's too late to take away these treasures, the enemy will gain nothing. Wouldn't it be that all the decades of struggle and hard work that I had put in were destroyed in one fell swoop, with nothing left? Generally speaking, most pirates will hide some or even most of their treasures in unknown places. Moria is like this, Doflamingo is like this, Ochaku, Lichians, is like this. However, the Hell Pirates have just entered the New World and have not yet stabilized. Those treasure maps haven't had time to be explored yet. Paramecia gun fruit? Is it the lower level ability of the weapon fruit? Looking at these devil fruit, Kid on the side was full of surprise. Because, there is a cadre of the Don Quixote family named Baby 5, who possesses the ability of Paramecia weapon fruit. In just a few words, he was instigated by Lord William to join the Hell Pirates. Well, there is also a cat fruit, an ancient species, and the form of a Breton's leopard. William glanced at the three fruits and said nonchalantly. He is interested in that Paramecia fruit. He has seen the Devil Fruit illustrated book. Naturally, the specific abilities of Paramecia Mimi fruit are clear. It can directly change the terrain and create various mazes at will according to the user's ideas to confuse the target.